Appreciate everybody joining us for a new series of panels that we're doing this year. We do a couple panels every year until I get tired of streamers bullshit with them not showing up on time, or showing up on time and still taking forever to set up, or stuff like that. Eventually I get sick of it and just stop doing them. But we are doing a bunch of panels right now, a couple a week we're going to get into. These are supposed to be a bit more like Piers Morgan style panels, so eventually we'll have a bit more production going on at the same time, where we'll be able to show news clips while we're introducing topics. It is a bit more heavily moderated. I didn't mean to go over this before we started, but yes, we are. It is more active moderation, so I will be asking a lot of questions. You guys are still free to engage with one another, but when I do jump in, allow me to jump in and moderate the show. Also, I had this problem last week, so apparently when I'm asking a lot of questions, these aren't necessarily my positions. The implications shouldn't be there. I am moderating, I am asking questions, I'm not really debating. So if I do ask a question, I am obviously very liberal, very standard Democrat. That's where my biases are, but I do try to moderate fairly. And so if I ask questions that are from another person's perspective, I do try to steel man it and try to give it the best perspective so the person can answer it as best as possible. So this doesn't necessarily imply any sort of positions from me. But with that said, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, we had another shooting. I think this one was it wasn't from an ICE officer, it was from a DHS officer of Alex Pretti, where the gun seems to be removed from him before he was shot. And then we also had a bunch more reasons given from the government afterwards that didn't seem to align with what it was that everybody else saw. So I do want to start with Marte, because you said that you used to be an ICE officer. Is that correct?
HSI.
HSI? What is that?
Same shit.
Same thing?
Borderline same shit. I mean, so you're talking like 10 plus years in law enforcement, different agencies and stuff like that. I got some well-rounded knowledge when it comes to use of force, the force continuum. I'm pretty sure Pisco, I did review your debate when it came to counterpoints. That was the most, to be honest, no offense, it was the most boring shit I've seen in my life. But we're going to dig into the crates, as it were, when it comes to law, statutes, things like this. But I don't want to get bogged down into your litigation. Let's kind of stick to YouTube, stick to the facts. And all I want to do is talk about prudence and justifiable cause and articulating why we think this probably could have happened. If we can keep it simple, I'd love that. That'd be great.
What does HSI stand for?
Homeland Security Investigations.
Homeland Security Investigations. Okay. And so that based on, if that's what you were doing, did you make arrests of people who were immigrants as well?
Yeah. ICE. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you think about this,
did you think that this was justified? How did you feel about the situation with Alex Pretti?
I think it was a justified shoot, although I think that I will give Pisco in the guy with the scrunchy face right now, kind of an olive branch right now. Here's the thing, though, I'll say. I think that it was a good shoot, but I do think that the communication was bad. They used bad tactical communication when they did take the gun away. Instead of saying shoot, 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 they could have uttered something like, hey, I've got the gun. The verbiage could have been differently. They could have articulated the fact that they've disarmed the guy, but that wasn't worded, right? This is to your point. So this is me being really benevolent and giving you an olive branch. I think that if the verbiage was different, this would have played out differently. The reason why I think that this was also justified shoot was because they were impeding a federal investigation. Now, that's not grounds for just shooting somebody in the back. I will say this, but here's the thing, though. Leading up to this is the entailment leading up to this, is I think that this all could have been prevented by not these people you're going to call protesters. These people are obstructionists. That's what they are. There's no ifs, ands, abouts. I'm not going to dance around this up. They're purely there to obstruct because of the signal apps and everything else. They were there to impede investigations. They were following ICE agents around, doing all this. And I think that when they did come up and they put a body between, Pretti put his body between himself and the woman's person. We don't know if an arrest was going to happen, but he did try to disperse and create space. Now, when that happened, the chances of casualties going up, if you bring if you're carrying a weapon, loaded weapon to I would say an active scene, whether it's a crime scene or investigation, the chances of casualties do go up. So I know I'm kind of gish galloping a little bit, but when he did push the woman, that was to create some distance. We do need a reactionary gap. And unless we create that reactionary gap, it might have not been the best thing that you wanted to see optics wise. But I do think that there was nothing wrong with this whole thing in totality, except for the communication. That's it.
Irrelevant.
Jump
Do you
in
disagree
there,
with that?
Tom, or you're.
Well, I want to
right,
hear
Tom?
Irrelevant real quick. Irrelevant. Do
Okay.
you disagree? Was there obstruction in this scenario?
No, I don't believe there's really obstruction. I would need to hear it articulated what specifically he was obstructing. It seems like what he was doing was trying to defend people who were getting pushed. That's not obstructing justice. If they push, if Ice Age has pushed somebody, trying to help them is not get up and stuff like that is not obstructing. No, I would love to hear the arguments for obstructing. The argument that, well, the communication was bad about pulling the weapon off of, that's a very, very big deal. And I think alone doesn't justify the shoot, because it should be standard that if you are going to disarm somebody, you tell the immediate people that you have disarmed them, especially when you hear like shot or calls that a gun is present. You should tell people that you disarm them. And also it just doesn't make sense. He's like, there's like 7 dudes piled on top of him. Like, no.
Yeah, we need extra resources in order to create a more safer environment. I think additional resources is good. So when you make a thing like there was an unnecessary number of officers there,
as a debate begun, or are we gonna like get intros?
Let him respond real quick. Irrelevant. So,
good.
I thought this was intros, but okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, we don't have intros. Like I said, we're just asking
Oh,
questions
yeah,
early
yeah,
on. You guys are able to
that's
kind of
cool.
engage with one another, but
You don't just need more resources, you need more training. I mean, these CBP officers aren't trained for this kind of crowd control stuff. That's not just me saying it. I mean, these individuals clearly don't know the first thing about de-escalation in these kinds of environments. And I understand that you don't want to get into the legal nitty-gritty because it shatters your case. The whole question of justification
Not
is
true.
it's a legal question. As you saying, I don't want to get stuck in the minutiae. As you're saying, well, I don't want to get into whether it's justified. If you're talking about some other version of justification, I'm like, justified with respect to what? If we're not talking about the law, what kind of justification are we talking about?
So if we're talking about justification, if you're talking about this push, now I have to counter 2 of you at the same time. So right now, Irrelevant, when you talk about this to create justification for the shoot, I think that there's rapid fire that happens in panicking situations. The reason why we need crowd control, the reason why we need bystanders away from the scene, away from an active investigation, is to prevent casualties and innocent bystanders from being hurt. Now, here's the thing, though. When they did remove a firearm, yes, I did already concede the fact that communication could have been better in him saying that, hey, I've got the gun. The verbiage could have been different on that. But here's the problem, though. He did reach for his holster. You could say, well, hold on. He already took the weapon. There are people that carry secondary firearms, right?
They do, yes.
Sure.
Right. So here's the thing, though. Is it reasonable and prudent to understand that it could have been a knife as well, too?
Could have been.
You
The question
literally
is,
just
by
you
could
just
you mean
said
it's possible?
No, hold on. If he's reaching into his pocket, no matter what,
No
he
evidence.
already
of reaching.
No, you-
him
no evidence.
no. Just to be clear, you just said he was reaching for his holster. Was he reaching for the secret knife pocket in his holster?
If
Well,
he's
the
reaching
thing
for
is-
a holster, it could have been a
He wasn't
reactionary.
reaching. Wait,
All
no,
the-
he wasn't reaching. He wasn't reaching. Where's the reaching?
well, there's an actual still frame of him reaching into the holster area.
this
Now,
was
again,
after
wait,
he was.
when?
Well,
Martell's-
real
when?
quick,
Martell's
talking
the
about
still
when he
frame. Hold on, the still frame of him reaching is after he was
Yes.
shot. He was already shot before that happened.
No, he
so that
wasn't
wouldn't be
after shot.
justification
No,
for.
he
No,
wasn't. He
it's
wasn't
what-
actually after shot.
It
There was the first
100%.
fire that happened. Now,
Yes, the first fire
ahead, Tom.
is the officer. The first fire is the officer. You can see that if from a separate angle that he has already pulled out his weapon, and when as soon as the pop happens, you can see the arm with the weapon jerk back. So where people are speculating that it was possibly the SIG, it couldn't have been the SIG. The SIG couldn't have really gone off in that way. And so when he reaches, it is after the first shot had already gone off.
go ahead.
So I'll say this. Is it possible that after somebody shoots, they can have a reaction of reaching for a gun that isn't there also?
You're saying, can they have the reaction, or
can-
is it reasonably likely?
Is it possible that people have reactions after being maimed or injured?
Yeah, it's
Sure,
possible.
but it's
Better-
whether or not it's
possible.
justified.
Yeah. That's not the
the
question.
shoot.
Isn't whether something is possible. It's possible he has a
No,
fucking
I don't
grenade. It's
care. Can you
possible
just answer the question? Can that be possible?
Yeah,
It's also possible that he had an RPG.
It's also possible
yes.
as a sword. It's possible as an RPG. It's possible that he's actually has a suicide vest. We can talk about possibility.
Let's be reasonable here.
Did he reach back? He reached back, right?
Let's be reasonable. The question is a legal question, and that's why you guys are desperate to try to say, well, what could have been the case? What could have been?
He reached back.
From an objectively reasonable officer's perspective, what would they think is reasonably necessary in light of whatever threat that they're perceiving? And it is obvious. In this case, it is not even a close call that a reasonable officer in his position would not feel the need to shoot in that context.
No, it is obvious. He did reach back.
Hold on. Let me get in here really quickly. Really quick. If you look at the footage full on, slow motion, by the way, you could see that when the first shot was fired, Alex Pretti is actually still getting up. From when the first shot is fired, all of the ICE officers are going out and they're all leaving the situation here. Pretti is looked up as he's getting on the next knee to get up. It's not until the second fire is when he goes down, which I would presume that that's when he got hit on the second fire. So when you look at the situation before, when he was reaching out to the gun or reaching out to his holster, I believe that happened before the first shot was fired, bro. So that's the case there. When he was reaching
disperse. So no. Why? Let me ask you a question. Why did the cops disperse off of him, if not for the first fire?
Because of the first fire.
Okay, so when he reached, were the wait. And when he reached, were the cops on him or were they off of him?
They were on him.
They were on him.
Yes.
That is your claim. No, this is literally false. You can watch the video.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
When he does this, there's no cops on him.
No, there wasn't, bro. No, when the first
you're not true. It's not true.
Yes, you can actually shoot it down frame by frame, and I have the frame for you where he's reaching. The officers are still on him. Okay, when he does that, he already took out the firearm. The shot goes off when he was reaching in, and then he's getting up, and then the second shot shows him going down, frame by frame. That's what happened. Irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean,
so
we can bring up the video. You guys are just confabulating, but let's just break down what we want to do. Do we actually want to run the legal analysis of justification? Because it seemed to be the case that before Marte, the HSI guy, you seem to be like, well, we shouldn't run the reasonability.
Are you going to use hindsight, or are you going to actually use what we have in the tape and actually have with prudence what we actually objectively saw?
Well, it depends what you mean by hindsight. If by hindsight you mean analyze the thing that happened, then we're going to analyze the thing that happened. If by hindsight you mean applying some standard, obviously I'm not going to. Obviously, I'm not in favor of applying some kind of hindsight 2020, just down to the picosecond.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what we're talking about.
That's not what I'm talking about. Let me clear this up. So I know that we have hindsight, but in the moment, if we look at this from the officer's perspective, now granted, we don't have the findings that have come out from this as far as the public square, as far as some court outside of law enforcement, but investigations do happen. As soon as this happens, I've been on so many use of force hearings and so many use of force boards that when I do see this, all you have to do is articulate why you had to do what you did. Now, if the officer had somebody interfering with the investigation, they had a body in front of the person that they had to arrest, is that impeding an arrest? If he was going to arrest a woman, do you think Pretti was in the way?
No, I don't grant that he committed obstruction as the law defines it. At least the one that.
So putting my hold on real quick.
That Homeland Security is trying to claim. I also don't think it's particularly relevant to the use of force here. We can analyze it if you want.
You're using.
Can we agree? Can we agree on the following? I'll go down the obstruction route if you want. It's a red herring. I can explain why it's a red herring. But can we?
Not a red herring.
This is I will go down that. I'm happy to walk that down with you on the obstruction thing. I completely demolished Connor on it. I'll completely demolish you on it. But the first thing we have to acknowledge is this is
a whole person.
This is a legal question, isn't it? We are trying to resolve a legal question. Is that what we're trying to resolve?
Yes or no? Let's do that then. So when it comes to obstruction, if you put a body in the way of, if there's a physical body in between me and the person I'm trying to arrest, is there an obstruction between me and the person I'm trying to arrest?
The answer is not necessarily.
So you wouldn't say that's obstructing justice.
Okay, so you're going to use ambiguous language.
The answer is not necessarily. What is
ambiguous language? Not necessarily.
Wait, come on. Are you saying if an officer? I'm sorry. Are you trying to say
define as obstructing justice here, Pisco?
Are you trying to say?
Okay, hold on.
What's your definition of that?
Hold on, wait.
We saw the woman.
Hold on, wait. Let's slow down for a second. Let's slow down. So what is the claim that you guys are asking for?
So the question was asked. It's a total red herring, but the question was asked.
I understand all the obstruction. I'm asking what is the hold on, wait, Pisco, hold on. What is the law that you're citing right now? That's what I'm asking. Sorry.
You're asking me what the law is. The law is 18 USC section 111.
111, yeah.
1. Yeah.
And what is that?
Okay,
what is the actual
That's obstruction?
That law has specific elements that aren't met merely by standing in front of an officer. And
no,
it is the case.
Hold on. I want to hear Pisco's answer.
They soyed out when I'm like, not necessarily standing in front of someone who's assuming they're trying to effectuate an arrest. Is constitutive of obstruction. That answer is true, and they sold out when I said it's not necessarily the case. I can explain why, but it is.
You believe the woman was impeding on that?
The woman was impeding on what?
I'm sorry. Alex Pretti was impeding on the arrest of the woman at the time.
Pretti was, yeah.
No, I don't.
Yes. No, you don't think that?
Okay, so
I don't think so. I can explain why.
She was interfering. Alex was interfering.
I can explain why I don't think that he was committing obstruction. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
You mean the guy that was kicking license plates and spitting on cops? Like, this is crazy. Go ahead, though.
That was a different incident from a different week.
Oh, you mean it's the people that haven't familiarized themselves with the person that was so allegedly peaceful, this obstructionist? He is
okay, hold on. Wait. Before we go to a different scenario, I do want to, Pisco, what is the reasoning for why this is not obstruction?
The reason why I don't have a basis to believe that it's obstruction are twofold. The first is there isn't a reasonable basis to believe that Pretti had obstructive intent, which is required. It's not enough if you accidentally stand in the way of an officer who is trying to do an arrest. That's not.
He literally got in the way of it.
This is not an accident.
You guys are so.
Okay, hold on. I need to get the answer real quick. I'll come back to you guys in a minute.
That must be it.
So Pisco, your answer is that there's no reason to believe that he had intent to block.
The point of example of the accident is not for you guys to say, oh my God, accident. It's to make the point that intent is a necessary element of obstruction. If you do not intend to obstruct a lawful process by an officer, you're not committing obstruction by definition. It's an intent requirement there, and that's presumed of all criminal laws. That's not
that legal. What you just gave us does not describe anything about intent. You're actually adding in words to the legislation that you just fucking sent. So there's no words of intent, bro.
So just so you're aware,
I'm going by the law here, by 111. There's no words of intent at all. You're just adding in words.
So crimes, unless specified otherwise, are not considered strict liability. Okay. Do you have any proof that
the law presumes Pretti was not intending to obstruct it?
Hold on. Stop. Everybody stop. Okay. Jake, just a second ago, you guys seem to disagree on whether or not intent is actually part of the law. Do we all agree that intent is part of this before we move to
just to be clear,
another aspect? Hold on, Pisco. Hold on. Jake and Marte, do we agree that intent is part of this? Yes.
Sure, and we discovered that through the court.
I agree. You have to, which is one of the toughest things to prove in any court.
We can't do that because there's no court case. We haven't gone through the trial to actually do that.
So when you just sort out, it's not in the law, bro. It's not in the law, bro. When you did that,
the legislation that you fucking provided, bro. Yourself, right? Code 111, intent is not worded in there. That's what I'm saying.
You just granted that you need to prove intent.
It's not. No, I'm saying under the court when you have your court date in order to see the intent of each person, that's when you ask questions. We don't actually have that right now, Pisco. But I'm saying the code that you described, code 111, does not actually have intent in that.
Pisco, let me ask you a question.
It doesn't exist in there.
Was Alex Pretti there to assist law enforcement?
I have no idea.
Okay, so we don't know, right? You're at the behest of the same questions you're asking us. So here's the thing, though. We know for a fact he wasn't there to assist law enforcement. You know that for a fact. There's no way that a guy that's taking out officers is not there to assist law enforcement. Right. So here's the thing. Walk with. Hold on.
You've made out intent if you don't have the intent to help police officers.
Please go. I let you finish. Let me finish. So hold on. The guy that was kicking out rear bumpers and spitting on officers and doing all this with the lights in the back, that's the guy that's not helping law enforcement. We've shown this. There's a clear motive to not assist law enforcement. So if he's in the way of effecting an arrest, how is this not helping to obstruct?
How do you know the woman was under arrest? She just got pushed. Exactly. How do you know she was under arrest?
Yes, because she was in the middle of the wall.
If
she got pushed, how do you know she was under arrest? It's a very basic question.
Yeah, I can answer.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if she's in the way,
how do you know she was under arrest?
That would have. Hold on, let me finish this. If she was in the way, do you think that would have impeded or delayed an arrest? If Alex Purdy's in the way.
That's not the question. Would it?
No, if she was under arrest, then yes. Was she under arrest?
No, that's not my. This is going over your fucking head. If he's in the way, would that delay an arrest if that was going to happen?
Delaying an arrest is not enough for obstruction. You need to be like,
hold on, wait,
stop. Yes, it is.
Okay, hold on.
Tom, you gotta reel this in.
I answered his question. Let him answer this question. Marte, hold on. Are you asking a hypothetical or are you asking about the specific scenario right now?
No, I'm asking a hypothetical. If I have a person between me and another person, would that normally delay an arrest? Or
it's harder, yes. So
provide a hardship for me to.
It would delay it, but it would not be obstruction. You need more information to prove obstruction.
Dude, it's literally in the legislation.
Tom, I answer the question. Tom, I answer that question.
Okay, hold on, wait.
Marte,
like hold on, wait. Marte,
I need an answer.
Wait, hold on. Yes, it would delay it. However, it would not be obstruction. You need more information.
Hold on. Stop. So that when we're talking about, like earlier, when you guys seem to agree that intent would have to be part of this, Marte, if you're just saying that somebody just slowing down their ability to arrest somebody, you seem to already agree earlier that you would have to have an aspect of intent in there as well. So just the process of slowing it down, you seem to already agree that wouldn't be obstruction, right?
Tom, well, I've already ascertained, and actually Pisco actually agreed with me. Well, actually, he didn't. He should agree with me that Alex Pretti was not there to assist law enforcement. So we can then infer that he was a walking obstruction in himself.
Wait, I'm sorry. If you're not there to assist law enforcement, you're
there to obstruct.
Is this America? Or is this China?
What the fuck are you talking about?
I want to answer.
This is China, okay?
Can you give me some time to talk really quick? Just
go ahead,
really quick. I actually wanted to answer Irrelevant's question earlier. He's like, how do you know that the woman was being arrested? We have several footages from multiple angles that these women were disturbing or obstructing traffic. That's what they were doing. The ICE officer was telling them to go to the sidewalk. They were refusing. They were blowing whistles. They were right in their faces. The officer was pushing them over there, delaying or taking them out from the road. They were going over there. They were still refusing. They were still combative. That's when the officer was going to arrest them. That's when the conflict happened.
Where's your proof?
Hold on. Let me tell.
Irrelevant isn't saying did they do some other actions for which they would be liable. Let me finish my fucking
thought.
No,
what I'm saying, in the middle, they were obstructing the.
Irrelevant did not say, oh, these people weren't doing something that would make them liable.
He asked the question. What are you talking about, Pisco? His question was, how do you know they were
Let him finish.
Hold on. Let him finish.
Because you don't want me to answer your fucking question. You wanted him to answer it. I'm answering it for you, bro.
What Irrelevant is getting at. What Irrelevant is
what's he getting at? Go ahead and talk for him.
Because obstructive intent is relevant to that determination of whether they're in fact obstructed, you would have to presuppose that it was reasonable for someone to think that an arrest was actually being effectuated. Not whether or not someone had the legal authority to arrest, but whether or not a reasonable person looking at what's going on would think, hey, there's an arrest right now that I'm obstructing. And so obviously Irrelevant's question isn't getting at the actions of the women on the street vis-a-vis, qua those actions. His question is getting at what are the indicia that an arrest actually was occurring? Because just because you're dispersing someone doesn't mean you're arresting them. That's what Irrelevant's question is about.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, I'm basing it off of what was the totality of the situation. Again, they were obstructing traffic. We saw that. We saw the officer already pushing them away to get away from the sideline. Then you saw that the officer was attempting an arrest or some type of conflict there. Purdy got in the way of that. This is where
he pushed her. How was that attempting an arrest?
That's not attempted arrest.
Did
they say, "Hey, you're under arrest"?
No, you're under arrest. Answer the question.
Answer the question.
He pushed her to the ground. How is that attempting an arrest?
He created crowd control and dispersed the crowd when he did this. The crowd
arrest. That's not arrest.
That's not an arrest. Great.
Yeah, but she was breaking the law.
How do you where's the arrest? Where's the arrest?
What I'm saying, follow with me. I know you're pretty low IQ up there, but here's the thing, though. He wanted to disperse the crowd.
I'm waiting for you to make an intelligent statement.
When he pushed the person, it's the same equivalent as using pepper spray. We're creating distance and a reactionary gap to create safety. Now, we wouldn't have known if he was going to probably effectuate arrest or not.
Let me respond to that.
And neither would Pretti. Wait. You just said it. You just said it. And neither would Pretti. We wouldn't know if he was effectuating an arrest. And neither would Pretti. And neither would Pretti.
Okay, hold on.
I can't finish my words. I don't
finish your statement, and then we're gonna go back to irrelevant. Go ahead, Marte. Finish your statement.
So here's the thing, though. We do know for a fact that Alex Pretti was not there to assist law enforcement. That's something that you actually have to agree with, Pisco. Do you not agree with that?
I agree with that. He wasn't there to help law enforcement. So I agree.
Wait, Marte, the reason that this is getting stuck up is because you keep creating a dichotomy where people are only there to assist law enforcement or they're there to obstruct, and it's only one of the two. And that's where they're getting caught up, is that they feel like there's a lot of in between where they could be protesting, they could be standardized, they could be looking loose.
So here's the problem, though, is that when you're saying you're just protesting and then you're kicking out rear license plates and all this other stuff.
Sure. I don't want to talk about the stuff like that. If you want to talk about his character, we can have a separate conversation about that. I want to bring something up because you said something specific. Tom, you got to get it. You got to let me in here. Okay, so listen, I love you, Tom. You got to let me in.
Marte, we do have to get to that another time.
He brought up pepper spraying people. So I want a simple response to this question. If I helped somebody who was pepper sprayed by a law enforcement officer, am I obstructing an arrest?
Yeah, that's happened plenty of times. I've seen many people.
This is crazy. You help your fellow man after they got pepper sprayed by a cop. You're obstructing. That's insane.
What are you talking about, bro?
So many people. Hold on. And I'm going to talk about this in my experience. When you pepper spray somebody, they can still use lethal force against you. They can reach in their pocket and grab a knife, even if they're pepper sprayed. There's so many people who have reactions.
Wait. Answer this question. Can anybody do that at any time? Yes or no? Unless they're unconscious. Yes or no?
Yeah,
all the time.
Yes or no? Shit.
Answer. I don't want to. Yes or no? Is that true?
All we're doing is creating distance and space for reactionary gap. That doesn't mean that the person's going to be.
That's not an arrest. You just described crowd control. That's not an arrest. That's crowd control.
That's not what I'm talking about. You're talking past me.
That's what we're talking about. A cop,
I'm leading up to this.
DHS agent created space, and then Alex Pretti wanted to make sure that woman was okay. He wasn't effectuating an arrest.
Putting his hands on an officer.
You're trolling me. Why are you trolling me? You're griefing my lobbies, bro.
Okay, all right, hold on. We need to slow down for a minute. We got to slow down for a minute. Okay, so irrelevant. Right now we're disagreeing on whether or not there is an arrest, right? And whether or not the woman that he first engages with, whether or not he is arresting her, correct? That is your contention.
Whether or not a reasonable person would interpret that an arrest is happening and that assisting her would result in obstruction.
So hold on.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Hold on. We're trying to slow down. We're trying to slow down. So Marte, if his question is whether or not there is an arrest, and you seem to say earlier that there was an arrest, are you saying that right now at the point where there is obstruction, are you saying? Okay, so I'm asking, at the point where there is obstruction, are you saying that there is an arrest taking place in that moment, or are you saying this is just an official duty from an officer in that moment? Which one of those two are you saying?
So this is the reason why I forgot his name, but he's talking past me right now. So the reason why Irrelevant, I see his name now. The reason why Irrelevant's talking past me is because I'm talking about the lead up to this. He wants to just jump to the arrest, and we can get to that, but we need to talk about the lead up to this.
I'm asking you a question. Are you saying in the moment where he is approaching the woman and he shoves the woman, are you saying that this action is him arresting this woman, or are you saying this is just an official action?
Let me provide some context, though. I have to provide a little bit of context to what I'm talking about.
Can you answer the question first before you give me the context?
But this question requires context. I can't just say
it
yes
does.
or
No,
no.
I'm allowing you to give context. I want you to. I'm asking you to give an answer first.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is we don't know.
Okay.
So neither does
we don't know.
So
hold on. Hold on.
That's why I have to provide the context.
Okay. So go ahead and give the context, but I've got another question for you right after. So go ahead and give your context.
We don't know, how does Pretti know? If we don't know,
we know that he wasn't there to aid in law enforcement, and we do know that when he did step up to law enforcement, he didn't go there to assist or make things easier for this investigation to happen. We do know that. Even Pisco agrees with that. So if he was there, he was in the way. He was obstruction. He was an obstructionist the whole time. The reason why was because he slowed down and hampered investigations. Prior to that, we've seen a behavior from this guy. So you think that the day of, you think there would be a change of behavior and he would just stop doing this?
Okay, so when you bring up the behaviors, hold on, because this is where we're getting caught up. There's two things here. One, when you bring up like the behavior from the past, I have no reason to believe that the officers who were there in the moment had any knowledge of him kicking a car or anything like that in the past. Whatsoever. So I don't know that we would include that in the analysis of what the officer's thought process is as this is happening.
Is it fair?
Hold on. No, I agree, but that's what we're talking about right now. When we're doing the legal analysis, hold on, because this is why this is where we're getting caught up. And I'm trying to just
they don't need to though, Tom, and I can make an argument on this. The officers don't need to know specifically it was that individual that 11 days ago he kicked out a fucking taillight. What they do know is that individuals that are over there interfering in disorder and law, them doing their jobs is something that they've seen time and time again. So not only that, we saw Purdy interfering in this confrontation that they were having with the woman. Okay, so they know these individuals that get involved.
It's a confrontation. It's not an arrest.
It's not an arrest. Not an arrest anymore, right?
Not an arrest.
It would be a potential arrest because we didn't know because Purdy interfered.
Okay, wait. Okay,
so we don't know. The reason why I was asking your question of why I was saying that this could have been arrest, more than likely, is because they were already obstructing the traffic.
Okay, can you answer a simple question for me? If you do not even
that they were already breaking the law already, right?
Stop. We're not going to pivot. We're not pivoting off of this. We're not pivoting off of this.
Can you just answer me this? If they were
no, because I'm staying on topic. I'm not going to allow this.
You're not going to answer my question.
This entire thing is your point. This entire thing.
Yeah. Okay. So
this is. Yeah, this is over the point of the arrest.
This is not our point, and I'm holding you to it. If you guys both admit you do not know whether or not an arrest was happening, how do you know he was obstructing an arrest?
So if somebody is interfering with an active investigation and police are walking up to somebody, why would you put yourself?
The question was no.
Why would you put your body in between somebody else who's approaching in law enforcement?
You just said.
Hold on, Pisco.
Irrelevant. I heard what he said.
Pisco's not going to let anybody finish talking.
I just don't know.
Go ahead, Pisco. I don't interrupt
you. I heard you. You said, what other possible reason would he have for standing in front of them? Now, we will answer that question.
You see how he just mischaracterized what I said? I didn't say that at all. I never said what possible reason. Do you need me to reframe this so you can still man it? What I said
I want to hear you repeat the question I just asked you. Because you didn't answer, so I want to hear you repeat the question I just asked.
I'll deal with Pisco, then I can deal with you. Okay.
So he's not even. Okay.
What I'm saying is, he showed up. He wasn't there to assist law enforcement. I know we're running in circles here, but because he wasn't there to help law enforcement at all, he was in the way. All he's going to do is slow down an investigation and impede in all these procedures that were going to happen that day. I don't think he was there to help. What reason or purpose was he there? If he was going to protest, he can yell from the sidewalk and do all this shit. When you walk up with a firearm, I think the chances of a death or
you didn't answer a relevant
question substantially.
Yeah, you didn't answer my question. You didn't answer my question.
Hold on.
The general purpose of why he's there. So the general purpose of why he's there, we can talk about that. I don't think it's relevant at all. Especially
you wouldn't know this, right?
Well, I don't think it's relevant at all. But let's just talk about what Irrelevant asked. Irrelevant asked. It's almost like a logical entailment. He basically asked, because your point was he was obstructing some action, and what action? The arrest. And he asked you, well, is it the case that we would be able to establish an arrest happened?
A potential arrest, yes.
No. An arrest. Whether an arrest was
a potential arrest.
No, you're backtracking in real time. time.
No,
not backtracking. I was asking your question of like how I would perceive that as an individual. It looks like an arrest. Okay, if he's impeding on that, then yes, they have the right to fucking go after him.
Jake did say a potential arrest, and he was saying that the fact that he's engaging with somebody on the sidewalk, that the fact that it could be. Hold on, this is what Jake was saying, that the fact that it could be an arrest is saying that like if you step in between, you could know that you are possibly impeding an arrest.
Right. It goes the more unsure, and you guys expressed uncertainty. You guys expressed uncertainty. The more unsure it is that an arrest was happening, that's why you're having to say things like potential arrest, because you know it's ridiculous. Because
it's not potential. No, bro, the pepper spray. It's not ridiculous. You literally walked towards the you did
answer my question. Instead of just losing your shit and swaying out, answer my question. No, Robin, no, because you guys have not answered my question. Tom, they have not answered the question I asked like 10 minutes ago. Okay, no.
Can I just?
Neither one of them answered my question. Just to be clear.
Yeah, he has asked the question like 3 times now.
Okay, so I'm going to ask it again. If you do not know whether or not there was an arrest, how do you know he obstructed arrest?
So again, I'll re-explain the person, and he puts a body in between the other person. Do you think that would slow down or hamper anything that was going to answer the question?
That's not an answer. We can answer that.
Do you think? By the way, do you think when somebody detains somebody,
answer his question?
Do you think that when somebody detains somebody and you're looking from the outside in, that person's going to be arrested eventually?
No. The question.
No. Answer my question. Hold on. If you see somebody being detained,
you're assuming the thing. You're assuming
it's not assuming the thing.
No, Pisco, he's not assuming. Pisco, he's not assuming. Hold on, wait. Pisco, he's not assuming. He's not assuming the thing. Hold on, wait. Hold on. Stop.
I'm saying from the perspective of the cop and the perspective of Pretti.
Jake, hold on. Okay, so he's not assuming that there's an arrest. He is saying that there is a potential there. You're always trying to read context clues to see if there is an arrest. Hold on, Pisco. Hold on. Shut up. Pisco, it doesn't matter if it's wrong. You're not engaging with that. So he's saying that there is a possibility that there is an arrest.
Hey,
hold on. Pisco. Pisco.
Can I get one of them to answer my question before they ask another question?
So hold on. Wait.
To the panel.
Hold on.
Respect the panel, please,
so this is his answers. Jake is saying that I understand Marte saying something different, but Jake is saying that there's always context clues as to whether or not an arrest is happening, and that there's always a potential. You don't know whether or not an arrest is happening, and so you have to read the context clues to try to come to the best assumption. In this case, there's some clues that make it look like there could possibly be a potential arrest coming, or a detainment, or something like that, or any sort of official duty from this officer. And so because there is a potential of that, him getting in the way whatsoever means that he knows there is a potential that he is stopping an arrest from happening. He's not making the claim that there was an arrest happening or there is a detainment happening, but that there is a potential of that when Pretti interferes. So Pisco, respond to that.
Tom wasn't listening. So Tom wasn't listening. Jake said,
"Oh my God,
you don't think Tom wasn't listening?"
Oh, just keep strawmanning. It's exactly my point.
Hold on. Let him respond.
I know that you've been trying different weasel tactics, including making it more equivocal by saying things like potential arrest. It was potentially obstructing, or Marte saying, wouldn't it factually be the case that you don't think that if a body's in front of you, it's harder to arrest? Like, those are not questions that are relevant to what we're talking about. But the reason why Tom wasn't listening, because in the iteration of the question, that Jake asked, you don't think that if you're detaining someone, that if you try to put your body in between, you're obstructing an arrest? That's begging the question, because a detention.
It's not begging the question. It's a simple question. Do you believe that you could be interrupting a potential arrest or not?
So a detention.
Just answer the question, bro.
So a detention.
Answer the question. If you see somebody,
hold on, Jake. Let him finish his statement.
Let him finish his statement.
Jake
goes in the middle.
Jake, hold on. Let him finish the answer. We got to slow down. Like, the interruptions are getting way too much. I'm literally just gonna have to start like muting people and talking to one person at a time if this continues. It's getting way too ridiculous. Pisco, please answer the question.
A relevance question was tailored to detainments and questioned whether it was reasonable for Pretti, not just in the context of constitutional arrest. We're using arrest as a label to refer to detentions, including Terry stops and any kind of seizure by the police. And so when you assume in your question or in your statement that a detention in fact occurred, obviously you're begging the question in that you are assuming the very thing that's in question, which is whether or not a reasonable reasonable person from Pretti's position would think a detention was actually occurring. And the answer is of course not. Of course not. Did he say, stop right there, don't move, you're under arrest, we're detaining you? You don't hear shit about that. You don't have to. You don't have to hear it, bro.
He pushed her away. Your buddy admitted it was crowd control. Crowd control isn't arrest. He's literally pushing her away.
When we lead up to an arrest, we have to literally look at the details.
Push people to the ground. You just push people to the ground.
No court is going to look at
somebody to the ground.
Okay. A reasonable individual looking at that situation. Okay, then if that's the case, then why didn't? If that's what you're saying, why didn't he arrest her after pushing her the first time?
So Alex Pretti kind of got in the way, right? Proves the obstruction.
No, he didn't. Not after the first time. 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 No, you're making that shit up. She got pushed in the middle of the street.
Hold on. Keep that thought right there, because if you say, why didn't he arrest her? Well, guess what happened? Shots rang out because Alex Pretti kind of got in the way, didn't he?
You just jumped like 30 seconds between the first push and then the shots getting rung out. The first push happened, and then he moved on to the other chick and pushed the other chick. There was no arrest. There was no arrest.
The answer's in the situation. How come no arrest happened?
Why didn't he arrest the woman he pushed? If you're
because Alex Pretti got in the way and fucking
okay, hold on. Stop. Hold on. Wait. Hold on, Marte.
Oh my God,
the question is, okay, after everything happened, why didn't they go and arrest her? If she engaged in some sort of arrestable action where she ought to have been arrested, even after what happened with Pretti, she was still there. She didn't flee the scene. She didn't run away. She was still there.
Well,
why didn't they arrest her at? Hold on. I'm asking Marte, and I want like a simplistic answer to this, please. Why didn't they actually arrest her after this?
Well, because if you think about this can be an optics nightmare, especially for any agency. So we're going to tackle the biggest thing, and we can let people go, right? This happens all the time. If we say, you know what, we were originally going to do this, but right now we have an optics nightmare that we have to kind of untangle right now because the media, we talk about headline nightmares, like this is something that they have to de-escalate. We have debriefing that happens after this. And I think that this is one of those cases where we have bigger fish to fry. We can let her go.
Can I answer the question?
So hold on. Wait.
We had to deal with.
Well, hold on. So irrelevant. Do you think it needs to be an arrest in order for this to be considered obstruction?
Of an arrest? Yes, that is how
Of
material
an arrest, but like obstruction. Hold on. Jake, Marte, hold on. Stop. Hold on. Jake, Marte, stop talking. Holy shit. This is fucking insane, dude. This is getting absolutely fucking ridiculous. Holy shit. Okay. So not obstruction of an arrest, but just like obstruction of like an officer acting in some sort of official duty. So like even if he was trying to clear people, hold on.
Let Tom finish.
Hold on.
Let Tom finish.
Even if they're trying to just clear people off of the street, let's say it's not obstruction of an arrest, and he is like getting in the way of them trying to. That's not the question.
Okay, so
that was that. Hold on, stop. That was not the fucking question.
I was just going to ask a clarifying question.
Holy fucking shit! This is not the question.
Go shut the fuck up.
I was trying to ask a clarifying question about what you're asking
You're still fucking talking.
Okay.
Shut the fuck up and let Tom finish.
I got it.
I'm trying to ask a clarifying question because I forgot what you said at the beginning of the question.
And then you can ask your clarifying question.
I'm trying to ask Jake. I got it.
Oh my God.
I got it. Holy shit! I got it.
Shut the fuck up and let Tom finish, bro. Respect the platform, bro.
Stop. Tom, I forgot what you said at the beginning. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question that you were asking me at the beginning?
Yes, I don't need the help with the fucking moderation. Okay, chill.
And losing your mind. Quit soying out.
You keep interrupting Tom. Let him finish, bro.
No, I'm not. You are. Leo, please repeat.
So I'm asking, even if he is just trying to, let's say, escort the woman off of the road or get her out of the road in some way, she's she's in the way of traffic, and he's just trying to remove her from the road, and Alex Pretti inserts himself between her and the cop, or the cop and her, would this still be obstruction in this case?
No, if anything, that'd be aiding law enforcement because you're aiding them out of the obstruction that they're arguing. That is literally, as you described, you said that if Alex Pretti was assisting the woman out of the roadway, which the officer is claiming is the obstruction, then he'd be assisting the situation.
Okay, so
to be
Jake,
able to,
hold on, wait, Marte, hold on. Wait, Marte, hold on.
clearly.
Jake, why do you disagree with this?
Aiding law enforcement?
Hold on.
You mean he
Marte,
was aiding a woman,
hold on.
not law enforcement?
Marte,
I
stop talking.
answer the question. I answer the question, and that's the truth of the question. If you want to soy out about that, you can soy out about that. Yeah, that's true with what he said.
Hold on.
That's literally true with what he said.
Hold on.
Tom has something to say. Tom has something to say.
Jake, why do you disagree with that?
What specifically?
So what you just
so you
said.
weren't even listening to the thing that you just soyed out of disagreeing with?
I just asked him the question.
I noted this guy chipped out and he lost his fucking mind and he doesn't even remember what he's losing his mind over.
You guys are literally on each other. I literally couldn't hear either of you. Specifically,
plugged into your mic. You don't even remember what you're
you literally
go ahead, Tom. Go ahead,
you have Tell talking over you. I can't hear what you guys are saying. This is why I said let Tom
talk over anybody. Shut
the fuck up, bro.
Talked over me in my response.
Hold on. Okay, so Jake, the question was if he's just trying to get her out of the road and Pretti gets in the way, is this still obstruction? Yeah. And he said in this case, he would actually be assisting the officer because he would be helping her out of the road. So he would be assisting the officer get her out of the road after she's laying on her butt in the middle of the road. Because he shoved her in the middle of the road.
Okay, so the argument is after he shoved her and then he gets in the way of the police or the ICE
he agent, starts helping her up.
He would be assisting the ICE agent by getting her out of the road. Is that
by
helping
her
relevant?
To her
assuming he's dispersing her.
Assuming he is. He is dispersing her from the principal place that the officer was shoving her as a result of obstructing.
I would say this: if everybody communicated saying, "Officer, I'm going to be helping you get her out of the road," and I saw everything right there. And he said that, he made it clear, then I would agree with you, relevant. But that wasn't the case at all, bro. So again, going back to my point is that when you see conflict there and an agent is in conflict with another individual and you get in the way of that, that's obstructing whatever the agency, whether it's a potential arrest or whatever the case is,
not trying to obstruct.
etc.
Was he walking towards the lady after he pushed her or walking away?
Would be
which time? Which one? He pushed two women, to be clear. He pushed
why
two
couldn't he
women.
get behind the woman
after he dispersed and pushed her away, or was he walking away?
Which one?
Who?
Which one of the women?
Was he any one of the women? Was he walking
the one
towards
that he
their
shoved to the
direction
ground? Was the one that we were talking about. We were talking about the one that he shoved to the ground.
The shoving one.
Okay, so to be clear, he shoved two women. So the first woman that he shoved, he walked towards them and caught them, and the second woman that he shoved, he got in between them and then tried to help her up.
No, that doesn't answer my question. Can you answer the question? After the officer pushed the woman, did
that was a clarifying question, Marte. Marte, that was a clarifying question. Hold on, Marte. He just gave you two examples. He's asking which one you're talking about. The second shove, the one that went to the ground.
Was he walking towards either one of the women's directions after he pushed her?
He might have
been
the officer. Yeah. Both,
no. Just answer the question.
I just answered yes, but that's consistent with the dispersal purpose.
Right.
Yes, but
hold on. There's a second part of the question. No, wait, hold on. There's a second part of the question. There's a reason why I asked this. So if he's walking towards the woman, what reason would Alex Pretti help out with the officer if there's already capable, healthy, two-armed, two-leg man walking already to the woman's direction to already help and assist?
To help a woman who just fell on the ground up.
So
are you guys not supposed to be conservatives who care about women? Are you guys going to say, whatever, bro? Who cares?
Okay, all right, hold on, Marte. Marte, so the idea, hold on. So the idea is that the officers
helping her out. That's material in the video. You can see her.
Stop talking.
And pushed him. He shoved the ICE officer.
He didn't shove. What are you talking about? Where is that? No, he touched him. He didn't shove. Where's the shove?
Hold on. I got Jake. I unmute Jake. Okay, so Marte, when they're saying that they're saying that the officer is engaged in some sort of lawful duty, right? They're trying to make arrests, they're doing raids, whatever, right? They're trying to get her out of the road. They shove her to the side. we would assume he wants to go back to his job and do what he's doing. So if he shoves her to the side and Alex Pretti, let's say, if he picked her up and helped her to her feet and then they got to the sidewalk, like that would have been the end of that action, right?
But Tom, let me engage with this real quick. So
Hold on,
the
wait,
reason
I'm just trying to get to a point where we can actually move forward. So you agree that that would have been the end of the action, yes?
Can we tie this up though first before we move forward?
Well,
Because
I have
if the
another
officer-
question for after this, but I don't want to get lost in another whole thing without an answer to it.
I'll
So
make this quick. I'm not going to be long. So if the officer pushed the woman and he continued advancing toward her direction, would it not be safe to say that he was still going to deal and finalize with the outcome of his actions? Why would Alex Pretti then assist with an officer already moving to her direction?
Well, that is
it's consistent.
that is
You
the
see what I'm
question: is
saying?
what
How-
evidence?
it's-
No. That is the question:
no.
is what evidence is there that he was engaged in further action with her?
He was walking and making advancements toward her, stepping towards her continuously.
So first
Okay,
of all,
Pisco, go
first of all, he's over.
That's an
he's
action in
over-
itself. Yes.
First of all, he's
Okay.
overstating the nature of the advancement. I mean, like he pushed him, and then quite quickly, Pretti was there. It's not like he was like stalking her very
Yeah.
closely. But and number two, all that is consistent with the rationale of dispersal, which is what you accepted it was, and none of
Hold
that,
on.
and none of. No. What's key? Let me finish my fucking thought. None of Pretty's actions indicate an obstructive intent. And the question isn't whether or not, you can invent some rationale for police there, or whether, Pretty acted perfectly with respect to his own like health and well-being. The question is, have you demonstrated obstruction? And you have failed because you've
No, I
conceded now.
haven't.
Wait. I think. Let me just finish. I think you guys have conceded that a reasonable person
Nope.
wouldn't perceive a detention from those facts and circumstances. And so you have to have like some. Wait,
We
let me
didn't.
finish. Let me finish.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at your take. Go ahead.
Let me
bro.
finish.
Go ahead.
Because
bro.
of course it's absurd in
Because
the
what?
absence of any sort of any sort of attempt to physically detain, and just from the basis of a push, it's absurd. Or for example, a spray, to conclude that a detention has happened. You now have to invent a new theory of obstruction, and so now the theory of obstruction is like, oh well, they're dispersing them, but you haven't been able to connect the dots to how Alex Pretti helping up a woman would obstruct a lawful dispersal. And it doesn't make any sense.
You agree with the relevant that Alex Pretti in the video went and helped up the woman. You agree with that?
Jake.
No,
I'm
Jake,
asking Peace.
Hold on.
Was he
Yeah,
there
what Jacob?
between the
Trying
two?
to.
And he was helping
He was
her up
trying
after
to.
she got shoved.
The
So
second woman, yes, he tried to help her up. Yes,
The second woman,
everyone gets.
we did it.
trying to.
Everyone
He
could
was
see
trying
his
to.
hands
He was
on the
trying to.
officer, pushed him away. He didn't even
He's
attempt to.
got-
There's no
He
push. He's just making
He
stuff
didn't.
up.
He didn't.
He's
He
got a
didn't
question
attempt
for
to.
you.
Hey, maybe lay off the maybe lay off the hard cider before bed. You're making shit up.
Hold on.
Okay, play the
What you
video,
just
Tom,
said
and let's see
doesn't
where
make sense.
where Alex is helping up the woman.
Pisco,
play the
what you
video.
said doesn't make sense, and I
Please.
can
Yeah,
disagree.
maybe that would be helpful at this point. Yeah.
Would, because he's not helping
Alright.
up the woman at all. What are you talking about?
You
He
just said
is.
something that
I
literally
will-
is.
I'm-
He's
hold on,
stupid.
hold on,
He's so
hold on.
stupid.
Hey, hold on.
I thought you were a
am
lawyer,
pulling
Pisco.
up.
Come on.
Hold on. I am
Pisco.
pulling up the video. Hold on. No. Don't talk.
All right.
No talking. I'm going to play the video. We're gonna play this through, and then
And this is the
when I
push.
stop,
This is
then
the push.
I will ask a question. So do
Tom, we
not
gotta take a piss. I'll be
just
right back. Hold on.
okay.
You ready for the push?
This is
Wow, look at the push.
I can't
okay.
see
So
anything.
this is you don't see the share screen.
No.
Okay, there's a share screen up on Discord. Do you see the where it says share screen?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Or
Now
views
I
share
watch
screen.
it. Or hold on. It's loading. Yeah. Now I see it.
Okay, so this is the officer shoves her. He walks over
Now,
and he stands there.
Okay.
Okay, and he puts his
Oh, looks
hand
like
up,
he-
and then
Where's
hold on,
the push?
hold on,
Where's the-
hold on,
where's the
hold on.
push?
Hey,
No, he
hold
is
on,
going to
hold on,
help.
hold on, hold
No,
on,
no.
hold
You
on, hold
made
on.
the argument that he was helping her up. Both of
Hold
y'all said
on.
that.
Yes,
Jake, shut
he's
the
about
fuck
to.
up.
He's literally about to.
Shut.
Where?
Stop
He's literally
talking.
about to.
Stop
He's going to
talking.
help
Stop
her.
talking.
No, he
Stop
got pepper
talking.
sprayed, you fucking
Stop
moron.
Talking.
That's what he's
Stop
reacting to.
talking. Stop
What are you
talking.
talking about,
As
you
I
dumb
said.
fuck?
Okay. I gotta mute everybody. As I said, do not talk. I'm going to play a couple videos. Just wait. Hold on. This is not that fucking hard. I've never had this much fucking trouble just trying to get through a fucking panel. Holy shit. All right. And then this is the other angle that we have as well. Okay, so this is the part right here. So between these two, those are the two.
Yep, that's a CBP agent.
Okay, so Jake, in that video, do you still feel as though he is pushing or shoving the officer?
Yeah, play the first one really quick. Play the first one. Where he puts his hands on the ICE agent. That's a better angle.
Touch equals push?
The first one.
That's
Puts his
So
hands on him, but there's a better angle that
you
you
can't
played.
see him.
Push, that's push. Okay.
Yeah, the second
is-
one. The
that is a
second video
push?
is this one right here.
Hold on. Yeah, he touches the ICE agent. Touches him, pushes him. He reacts.
Well,
No,
I
touch
hugged
and
my
push is not
I hug-
synonymous. Touch and
I
push is
hugged
not
my
synonymous.
mom.
He
I
put his
hugged- I
hands
hugged
on
my
an
mom
ICE
today.
agent.
I
And he
Look at
got
the
Okay.
backtrack.
He got
So
sprayed.
so
Look at the
hold on.
literally
So
got
Jake,
pivot.
I
hold on,
hugged
Jake.
my
So
mom.
so
He
so are
shoved
we?
him.
Hold
He
on,
put
wait,
his
wait,
hands-
hold on.
It doesn't matter.
Jake,
He shoved his
so are we
hands on
saying-
an
Why? It doesn't matter what we say. So look at the
He
backtrack
pushed
in real
him. I
time.
said
It doesn't
he-
matter.
okay,
Wait,
dude,
just to be
can
clear,
we-
Tom, later in the video, he helps
You
him out.
literally put
Let
up
me-
footage of him putting his hands on an ICE agent. Yes, he shoved them. All right,
So
whether it's a
he-
low.
no,
Where's the
Shove.
shove? Where's the shove? You're
Are you
backtracking. Where's
stupid?
the shove? Where's
Okay.
the shove?
Let's go to the.
Pisco,
That was the shove.
universal
Are you
language for
blind?
stop is hands up, right?
Oh my
That's
god,
universal,
dude.
right? When I put my hands up, it means stop that action or whatever you're doing, right?
I usually think that putting your hand up like this means stuff.
What? Are you asking me or are you asking? I said
I
Tom.
want to have a direct back and forth with you. So the universal language, when I put my hand up, it means stop, right? This is universal for the most part,
Please
right?
don't shoot me. Please don't fire me with pepper spray that you're like aiming at me right now.
No.
Well,
Can you
he
answer
put
this
his hands
question?
on an
I'm
ICE
not talking about
officer,
that.
he
Is
shoved him.
that universal for stop?
No, different contexts and different answers. So, for example, if you put your hands up in like basketball, it means throw me the ball. If you, it's a
No,
different
hold on,
context,
hold
you're gonna
on.
have
In
different
this
answers.
circumstance, Pisco, in this circumstance,
Please
when
don't
he
fire.
got
Please
in the
don't
way
fire.
in between them, was
Please
he
don't
telling
fire.
them to stop their actions?
Please don't fire at me with your pepper spray, sir.
No, he didn't say that. He said that. He was like,
No,
"Please
no,
don't fire me with
no,
what
that's
he
a
said."
hand
Asking
motion.
what
He
is
was
being
being
communicated, and
That's
that's
what
what
the
he's
hand
doing.
motion means. Oh
He's
my
go,
god!
shut
I didn't
the
say he
fuck
said that. You fucking
He
dipshit. I didn't say
put his hands on an ICE officer and he got pepper sprayed. That's what
Okay.
happened. He didn't
All right,
help
hold
him,
on,
help
I
him
don't-
up, right?
okay.
You can
I don't-
agree
I
that
don't-
he
No,
didn't
I
help
don't-
you literally had to keep
Hold on.
going in the video.
Literally
You
did.
literally keep
Okay,
going
so
on the
so
video.
so so
Other
is the
30
video
claim?
seconds of the video. 2
He
seconds
never
of the video.
Okay,
Your
so
claim
Jake,
was
Jake,
deliberately
Jake,
lying.
hold on,
Irrelevant.
Jake,
You're just
Jake.
making
So is
shit
your
up, dude.
Jake?
You're adding
Jake,
intention where
Jake,
there
hold
isn't
on.
intention.
Wait.
Pisco,
Marte,
even with
hold
the
on.
context.
Marte,
Listen.
do you hear me talking? This isn't. Hold on. That Jake, are you claiming that he assaulted the officer? Like he just like this is an assault on an officer now? Yes.
Yeah, we can look back at the code 111 that Pisco mentioned earlier. When you look at the code right here, it does assault, resistance, impeding, interference, etc. Any type of these things would involve into any type of assault. Okay, he did put his hands on an ICE officer. He went out of his way to get between them. Okay, and he touched the officer. He gave him a
didn't
light
shove.
shove. But then,
He pushed.
yes,
Did
he
he
gave him a
push
light
up?
shove.
No,
Bro,
he
look at the
didn't
video.
shove.
You're right. Hold on, let me finish answering the question.
Literally lying.
This guy's just in denial. Let me finish the question.
Just
Then in the
lying.
second video that you said that you showed, it didn't show him at all helping up the woman the way he was claiming and
played
Pisco
2
was claiming
seconds.
earlier.
No, he's
He played
Dude,
2
you play the whole
seconds in
thing.
it.
Okay,
He
play the whole
tried
thing
to.
and let's see what
He literally tried
He
to.
didn't do. You made the claim that he did. He
tried
didn't.
to,
but
Just
it
making
is-
sure.
Okay, hold on.
We literally watched
Hold
2
on.
seconds on the
Hold
video.
on. Hold
Have
on.
you not seen these
he's-
videos, you
Hold on.
fucking
Wait.
idiot?
So
I have.
hold
You
on.
tried to help
Hold
him
on.
up, yeah.
Stop.
You
He literally
obviously
Hold on.
tried to
did.
grab
Stop.
the arm, yes.
You
Stop.
moron.
Stop. Okay, so the claim is that initially when they were
Fucking
talking
idiot.
about him getting in between them, that he is helping up the woman. Irrelevant. Is he immediately going to help up the woman, or is he standing between the officer and the woman first and
No,
then going to help her?
immediately after he shoved the woman. No, that wasn't my claim. My claim was that he was helping him up after the shove.
No, it didn't
Right,
happen.
I know.
He got pepper sprayed, you
Hold on.
moron.
Jake, I
That's why
don't
you
need the help.
did
Okay.
What?
He
I
got
don't need
pepper
that. I don't
sprayed.
need that.
Wait,
Jake,
wait,
hey,
wait.
dude,
Let me
I
make
don't.
this. Let me
This
this
isn't all that
clear.
fucking
I just want to get
difficult,
this. I want to get
This
this
isn't
clear.
fucking difficult, dude.
This guy who got
Hold
this
on.
guy who got pepper
Marte.
sprayed.
Holy shit.
This guy who
Go
got
ahead.
pepper sprayed is incapable of helping a woman up, but he requires 7 men to get on top of them and also execute him because he's resisting. But he's not capable of helping a woman out.
You're loading.
That's what I'm hearing.
Hold
That's
on,
literally what
hold
I'm
on,
hearing.
Marte.
Okay,
Hold on,
just to be
hold on,
clear.
hold on, hold on, Marte. Hold on, Marte. Marte.
You don't
hold
even
on.
know what the word fallacious means.
Are you
at
guys
this
able
point.
to
I don't
hear
even
me?
think you
Is my
understand
mic not
how words are
working? What the
used.
fuck is happening?
That's what you are.
Hold on. Okay, my mic booster, I just realized I don't have it on, so I guess I'm quiet as fuck. But I don't know if you guys just can't hear me half the time or what the fuck's going on. But
half the time it is hard to hear you, unironically.
yeah, you might have to turn me up a bit. I just realized, yeah, I don't have my mic booster on. I totally forgot about it, which means I'm at like 25% volume. So yeah, you might have to turn me up to like 200%. Okay, so we agree he did not immediately go to help her up. In this in-between phase, we're gonna move off this part pretty quick here. So just seriously, I need everybody to slow down. And like we're gonna do one person at a time. We gotta chill. Allow people to finish. We all agree he was not immediately going to help her up. So in this time between the officer shoving her, wait, you don't agree that he was not immediately going to help her up?
Our
claim wasn't Pisco.
Our claim was.
No,
I know that wasn't your
pepper
claim,
sprayed.
Pisco. I didn't say that. I didn't ask. Thank you. Jake, you agree he was not immediately going to help her up. You do agree with that. That is your claim. I don't know why you just said you disagree with that. That is your claim. He was not immediately going to help her up.
Who are you talking to? Am I allowed to talk or
No,
not?
I'm
Jake,
saying that there's
Jake.
yeah, me.
Jake made the opposite
Jake.
claim. This is you're pushing his straw man of us. That's what you're doing right now, Tom.
No, Jake said you guys. Hold on.
What?
I am not. Holy shit. This is.
Pisco, you didn't even hear what
seriously.
he said.
Hey,
Yeah, these
just
guys are
shut the fuck
retarded right now.
up. Just shut the fuck up. Jake, you agree he was not immediately going to help her up, right? Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
Just
okay,
yes.
hold on.
Okay, that's it. That is it.
I
That
was
is
saying
it.
that he wasn't
Okay,
even
okay.
attempting to help her.
I know. That's what. It doesn't matter.
That
Okay,
was his
so
point the
now
whole time.
after that point, now
Mhm.
that we agree he was not immediately going to help her up, that is whether or not that was anybody's claim or not.
He
Now,
never attempted it.
in this in between time, once he has stood between her and the officer, Pisco, this is if he was making an arrest. I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. So, if he was making an arrest and he stood between the two of them, would that be obstruction in this case? And
Not necessarily.
if so, why or why not? Okay.
Not
Go
necessarily.
ahead.
So, because it doesn't matter just whether or not he's subjectively making an arrest to find obstruction. Obstruction has to do with the proposed criminal defendant's in state of mind and intent. And so, even if we could have testimony that we believed, that is, that the officer was intending to effectuate an arrest, and let's say that we all knew for certain
That
he was
wasn't the
telling
question,
the truth.
but okay.
Jake, why don't you shut your mouth for two?
It wasn't his question.
seconds? You don't
He said
understand anything.
if we knew he was doing it.
Jake, I got this. I got it.
So
I got it.
I
Thank
answered
you.
the question, and the answer
No,
is
you're not.
not necessarily.
didn't.
The answer.
You're not
I
answering
did.
the question.
Hey,
yes.
hold on.
So when he asked,
As I said, I got a couple of questions, and you guys just chill for a minute. Allow me to get through this.
So
Please go.
when Tom asked, is it the case that if he were effectuated an arrest,
No, he
would
didn't say
it then
if.
be
He said if it was.
That's the same thing.
It's
Okay,
assuming
go
it.
ahead. Just
But
please
no,
go
it's not
answer the
shit.
question.
No,
Please.
was-
Hey,
Not
Jake.
if.
He is
Stupid.
assuming it.
Holy
Dude,
shit.
you literally are too low
I
IQ to have a
literally,
mic.
I can't. I seriously,
You're
I
never
can't.
been too low
Answer the
IQ to
question,
have a
Pisco.
mic.
Go ahead and not answer the
Okay.
question, Pisco.
He didn't.
All
He
right,
didn't say assuming. He said if. Are you like seriously? You should go back to high school.
Okay.
But so
I seriously stop talking.
Yeah,
Just
great
answer
argument.
the question, Pisco.
So if it was the case,
Holy shit! Is this seriously that fucking difficult? Shut the fuck up. Answer the question, please. Everybody else, shut the fuck up. Holy shit, this is not that fucking difficult. What the fuck,
question
dude?
is-
This is simple as
question
fuck,
comes-
dude. The fucking 20th time. Holy shit. Shut up. Damn it, dude. What the fuck? This is not that hard. I'm trying to get through. This is the simplest fucking shit. We gotta spend fucking 30 minutes on every fucking question. Why? Okay, please.
You're spurting, Tom.
Answer the question.
So
Okay.
the question that Tom asked was: assume if conditional on it, all synonyms. Assume that it is the case that he was effectuating an arrest. Would then there be an obstruction? And the answer to that was no, not necessarily. That is an answer to the question. And the reason is because his culpability when it comes to obstruction turns on criminal intent. And of course, criminal intent doesn't turn on the subjective intent of the person doing the government action. It turns on the individual who is committing the purportedly illegal act. And if it were the case that notwithstanding the subjective intent intention of the officer to go and arrest a person, that a reasonable person in Alex Pretti's position would not think that he was effectuating a detention or an arrest or whatever word you want to put in there, then of course he would be lacking the obstructive intent. And in this case, even if I granted that it was his subjective intent to effectuate an arrest, the indicia are so laughable that he was effectuating an arrest that I would not say that he has the obstructive intent. That's my answer.
Okay, so when he's in the middle of engaging with somebody,
great non-answer.
Does it make sense that is an answer to my question? I don't know. Hold on. I don't.
All of the different questions that have been asked.
I don't know what you guys thought that I was asking. That is what I was asking. So that is the answer to my question. So if you
retards.
Okay.
I don't accept that as an answer.
So if he is in the middle of engaging with this woman, if he's in the middle of engaging with this woman, and they are in this confrontation, and he stands between them, and the officer is now trying to move him or tells him to move, and he still stays between them and starts to help her up as well, would that be obstruction?
If the officer is trying to move in a particular direction and Alex Pretti refuses to move from where he is, would that be considered obstruction?
If the officer is still trying to get to the woman and tells Pretti to move and Pretti stays there, would that be obstruction?
Not not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Again, the answer to it, because
I'm just so vague. Not necessarily. I can't answer questions.
With respect,
just
that
let
is
him
an answer
speak?
to the question. So the 18 U.S.C. 111, as interpreted by the Eighth Circuit, applies forcibly in that conduct to every single one of the verbs that's listed there. And if at the time in which Pretti is like not moving or whatever, that's the first time at which it crystallizes the intent to detain, and he takes no other volitional action than just to stand where he is. I don't think that it's a separate element, is that crimes assume a volitional act, a minimal volitional act before you can be charged with a crime. And so just maintaining to be where he is, not like planting himself, I would say, no, that's not enough. Even after it's been made clear that he has that doesn't mean that he couldn't push him out of the way or something. But again, the question isn't what could the officer do? The question is, has Pretti committed obstruction? And I think that at the time it's crystallized that he's trying to detain this person. If he does no more than just stand where he is, he hasn't taken a volitional act such that the ambit of the law applies to him.
Okay, last question.
Can I ask you?
Hold on, I'm coming to you next, Marte. No, if it was the case that Pretti sees the officer come and shove this woman, that he didn't hear any sort of orders, that this officer just comes up and just shoves this woman to the ground, and is now pulling out like pepper spray or something like that, and he stands in between them, would this be considered? Is it possible this could be considered some sort of justified self-defense of another?
Depends.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, I think that it actually is in certain places, even in the context of law enforcement use of force, it can be justified to apply force against law enforcement. Think about the Breonna Taylor case.
So do you think that is the case here? Is that this could be a justified self-defense case where he is defending somebody else in this scenario?
I'm not sure. The answer is I don't know. I haven't analyzed it from that perspective, and so I don't know.
Okay. And Marte, what about you?
I'm not assessing whether or not it was justified for him to use the force, because of course he's dead and so he's not going to be charged. I'm analyzing whether the use of force from the perspective of the officers was justified. And I think basically all of this is unjustified and therefore illegal. The push, the use of pepper or whatever spray, spray, I don't know what the spray is called, multiple times. And then ultimately, obviously, the firing shots, which I hope that we'll get to at some point.
Okay. And then Marte, do you think that it's possible that this could have been, if the officer didn't ask them to move, if he shoves the woman and then is pulling out pepper spray, and it seems like in this case it would be unjustified, if he stood in between them in the way that he did, do you think that this could be justified in that case, if that was the case?
Yes, and I can explain why. So this was called, let's be frank here. It was Operation Metro Surge that we're talking about here. The DHS agents came to go ahead and enforce this. So Pretti, armed with a loaded 9mm handgun and 2 full magazines, inserted himself into a heated enforcement scene. He didn't like leave or do anything else. He was there to literally hamper the investigation that was happening. We can see this by him physically inserting himself between the woman and the approaching men. So this heated enforcement enforcement scene recording and obstructing agents amid protest. Now, he would be a protester if he was staying to the side, being vocal in his disagreement with what they were doing. But what he did was he physically inserted himself, bodily, like basically positioned himself in what we would even call a fatal funnel. If you're in a doorway in front of a car, which would be like tantamount to what we had before, you're inserting yourself physically in between a scene of a heated exchange between two people. That's obstruction to me. And there's nothing that you can tell me that isn't obstruction when he raises his hand up like this and it says stop, meaning like, I need you to stop your actions impeding the duties and everything else. Maybe there's an arrest, maybe there wouldn't be an arrest, but he's in the way. He's in the way. Even if we say he wasn't effectuating arrest, he would have slowed them down. He's basically a speed bump amid a heated exchange and arrest that probably could have happened, but we're not here because of could have. We saw what happened. He put his hand up, and that means to stop. You're telling somebody with the authority and weapon that's trying to basically stop illegal immigrants in the city to slow down and stop. That's crazy. That's pure obstruction to me, even by presence alone.
Maybe the pepper spray could be what he's trying to shield his face from?
No.
That's not possible. No, okay. So when you're getting pepper sprayed, putting your hand up means, okay, really? So putting your hand up when you're getting pepper sprayed doesn't mean, hey,
it's resisting arrest.
Pepper sprayed in the face.
It's resisting arrest.
It's resisting arrest. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Okay, that's crazy.
Pepper spray. Why would he not face another direction? He was visibly.
He turned his head. He turned his head. Did we not watch the same video?
Pepper sprayed, you fucking moron. Let me pepper spray you.
That's right, you animal. He was getting pepper sprayed, so he raised his hand and turned his head away.
Relevant. Hold on. Let me
exactly what Pisco. Oh, Pisco, you just resisted arrest on stream. I mean, they're coming for you. I mean, it's over.
I just want to ask a question. Look, let's slow this down a little bit. I just want this to be cleared up. So, if you get pepper sprayed and you're visibly shaken and you can't see anything, why was his body positioned directly towards the officers? If he knew where he was, he wouldn't step aside. Normally, I've pepper sprayed plenty of people in the line of duty. What they do is step out of the way most of the time, especially if we give commands. So in order to
he literally keeled over. He keeled over. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
No, he literally keeled over. He got pepper sprayed. He leaned back and he put his hand up to be able to defend himself. Like, do we need to rewatch the footage?
Hold on, irrelevant.
He tried to help the woman up. Remember that?
Yes, later. Yes, after. Yes.
No, he did.
He was saying that in order
he grabs her.
He grabs her.
He literally grabs her.
Okay, hold on. Marte, ask your question, and then we might go back to the video. Yeah, we might go back to the video. Marte, ask your question real quick, and then hold on. Wait. Hold on. Marte, ask your question, and then we might end up going back to the video. So ask your question real quick.
Okay, Pisco had stated something. He said, well, if you're trying to disperse and create distance, why would you close the distance? Well, after you pepper spray somebody, you have to give them an exit.
I don't think he ever said that.
Way out. Hold on, irrelevant. Did I interrupt you?
Well, he's making shit up.
I didn't say that.
Pisco is saying that he didn't say that.
So Pisco. Pisco, I'm addressing what you just said so we can move
forward.
Go
smoke a cigarette, loser.
We can't do that unless we tie these ends. So
all right, go for it.
Right. So after he pepper sprayed the person and this happened, the officers were trying to engage with the woman. They weren't moving any other direction but towards the woman. So when we do this, we're responsible for the person who got pepper sprayed by giving them water, giving them an exit, or things like that. So even after we're creating distance, we're still dealing with the situation. Alex Pretti, by inserting himself between the heated exchange, would actually be slowing things down. Would he speed it up or slow it down? Can you answer the question?
Well, it's possible that he might have had the effect of slowing down. That doesn't mean that he did the crime, but just be
right.
clear,
Well,
you're getting the chronology wrong. No, it's not. No, it's not.
You admitted it.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes, that is.
Are you gonna let him respond? Are you gonna let him respond or what?
No, it's not.
Marte, hold on. Let him give an explanation.
This is why when we answer, we qualify is because you're going to run with something that's like we're trying to be good faith and answer. Yeah, it might have the effect of slowing some operation you want to do down, but that isn't obstruction in and of itself. Obstruction, of course, requires intent, and you're getting the chronology wrong. The point at which he inserts himself isn't when he sprays the officer. It's obviously when he pushes the woman. That's when it gets involved. And so everything you just said was a big like fantasy or like confabulation that you made up, because obviously he inserts himself before the spray.
Intent is in code 111. Intent is not in there, but okay.
If he inserted himself before the spray, one could piece together chronologically the order of what happened, so the officers can make a safe assumption that he's in the way, right?
Not with respect to obstruction.
No, wait, hold on.
No.
I just asked the question.
He's physically in the way. He's physically in the way, but that doesn't mean
so he is in the way. Would that be called an obstruction?
No, not necessarily.
Oh wait, well, hold on.
If you're trying to arrest somebody on the other side of a crowd, is the entire crowd obstructing because they're in your way? Yes or no?
I'm asking
yes or no?
Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes or no? Yes or no?
The one person
No, you can't. No, because you haven't answered. You haven't answered any of my questions. He's literally asking
anything.
If there's a crowd of people,
that's how it works.
Calm yourself down, you animal. Go smoke a cigarette. Yo, if there's a crowd of people between you and the person that you are trying to arrest, is that obstruction? Is the crowd obstructing? Because they're delaying your arrest. Look at this guy. He can't answer any questions. Can you hold him to answering this question?
Marte, that is the question that they're asking. If there's a person who's just standing in your way, is this necessarily obstruction? Just because
during an investigation and during an active possible crime, yes, it is
possible.
Okay,
so not necessarily. Possibly, so not necessarily.
No, it is
right?
a crime scene because if you touch an officer, that can be. I could even say.
Wait, hold on, Marte. Hold on. Don't move to touching an officer. We're talking about whether or not we're standing in the way. That's what we're talking about right now. Just standing in the way.
He specifically said a crowd.
And we're talking about yes, but that's
hold on,
wait. That's it. We've already kind of like talked about like whether or not there was enough information for him to know that they were engaging in in an arrest or in a detainment. That is a separate part, but you would have to add that in that he does know that this is the case and that he now has this intent. And so you're like, that's why they're saying that's not necessarily the case that just because you're in the way that this would mean that you're obstructing, because there are other aspects that would need to be entailed.
Being in the way is not an obstruction.
I have a question
Pisco, I actually agree with you there. Being in the way, like, for example, his hypothetical about a big crowd of people in your way from another person being, that you want to detain or arrest. Or whatever the case is. So, well, hold on.
I want to hear Marte answer that question.
Finish my point.
No, because he hasn't answered my question. No, because he hasn't answered my question.
You
already answered. I want to hear.
I didn't answer.
There is a crowd of people.
I'm not done answering my question. I'm not done answering your fucking question.
Cool, I don't care. So if there's a crowd of people, if you are trying to arrest somebody on the other side of a crowd of people, and that crowd of people is delaying you,
or is this guy just going to rant?
Is the whole crowd obstructing?
The whole crowd, yeah.
Yes or no?
Can I answer his question? I just want to answer the question. So the definition of obstruction is a thing that impedes or prevents passage or progress, an obstacle or blockage. Was he a blockage between the woman and him?
No, we're talking about the criminal.
Notice how he didn't answer my question.
Definitions.
Tom, he didn't answer my question.
We're not talking about obstruction. We're not talking about this is the phrase for this is called
physical obstruction.
So this is an equivocation, right? Equivocation is when you play around with definitions and use one. No, let me finish. Use one definition for one purpose and another definition for another purpose. So
this
all
is
this
universal.
time,
I can use this.
Let me finish. All this time, we've been talking about the criminal act of obstruction. And now what you're using is obstruction in the general sense of like Merriam-Webster, like a physical obstruction on the road, the way a tree would be a physical obstruction if it fell down in the middle of a street. Obviously with obstruction, in order to get in all the priors that you want to do about use of force, we're talking about the criminal act of obstruction. We're not talking about physical obstruction in the general sense.
He made the hypothetical about an unlawful obstruction, which with the crowd situation, that goes back to my case.
Yeah,
they were asking about the legal.
It would be an unlawful.
It would be a physical
obstruction similar to a tree. Similar to a tree. Yes.
It would be a physical obstruction in the sense of it would be a physical obstruction
like a tree.
Dude, let him finish.
But the sneaky thing is when we say yes, it would be a physical obstruction.
Alex Pretti wasn't doing that.
Wait, hang on a second. Hang on a second.
He wasn't doing that.
So hang on. So you're already trying to do it right now. You're already trying to do it right now when I'm calling it out specifically. If I say yes, he was a physical obstruction in that sense, he's gonna go say, oh, Pisco admits he was obstructing, right? And that is debate tactics. That is slimely.
No,
what we're talking about.
Dude, it
is what you're trying to do.
We can agree. Okay, so we can agree that Alex Pretti was obstructing.
This is physics.
We can agree on that. We can agree that Alex
Then
Pretti was
hold on,
obstructing.
hold on, wait, hold on,
not-
hold
not-
on,
not-
stop, hold on, stop, stop, hold on, stop,
He was doing
hold on,
use of the tree.
hold on,
He was
stop,
the tree.
hold
He
on,
was like a
stop,
tree. He
stop.
fell in the way of the
Jake,
police officer.
Jake, stop. This is it. Hold on. We got to separate the terminology here then, because we're not going to use obstruction while we're talking about a legal definition of obstruction, and then also use the word obstruction in a colloquial sense. So we can say he was in the way. Like he got in between them or something like that, but we don't want to. Like
in
that's
the way
gonna
is
make
another word of
the conversation. It's
Yes,
correct.
you're
Like
right.
that's very. Hold on, I just explained.
Yes,
We just explained. This is getting confusing.
Just a VHS ice.
What a crumb.
Okay, so hold on, wait, hold on, stop. Hold on, Pisco, stop. Hold on. So Marte, we're gonna go back to the in a crowd. If somebody is just in a crowd and they get in the way, right? This isn't the legal definition of obstruction, right? We would agree.
Correct.
So, Tom, let me respond to what you just said, your query. Now, in a crowd, if somebody was in the way, they would be a physical obstruction. I know I can differentiate the two, right? So what Pisco was saying was he didn't give you the chance to finish this, was like, yes, we have Merriam's definition, but in order to throw this out, we would say that there's a tangential thing that we're talking about here. Now, the difference is that if I'm in a random crowd and somebody's in the way, that's a different definition of obstruction. Now, if there's a criminal case and an active investigation and then somebody will not move, even when they know that they're in between an officer, somebody walking towards a woman, to me, that's obstructing in the both senses of the term. If we're talking about this, if the officer's making an advancement toward the woman, we can't even assume. So on this knife cuts both ways. So he can't make an assumption that an arrest was going to happen.
Hold on, Marte.
That is the assumption that arrest wasn't going to happen.
Wait. That's hold on, Marte. That is the question. The point they're asking. It's not necessarily obstruction, right? You agree? It's not necessarily obstruction just because somebody's standing in the way in a crowd, right?
Yep.
In an investigation, you have
to
to
add
that context.
Hold on, wait. That's not what they're just saying. It in a general sense in a crowd. It is not necessarily.
In a general sense.
No, that is the question.
In a different debate, that is
what. Okay, because yes, that is the question.
Yes, you're right.
If they're investigating somebody on the other side of the crowd,
so
there's
a
crowd there, is the whole crowd obstructing because they're delaying a investigation?
Not unlawfully.
If you're getting shouted out,
I'm asking Marte.
I'll answer the question. So if people are shouting volatile things and statements from the crowd,
fight the hypo. Why are you fighting the hypothetical?
Hold on. No, this is what happened. It's not hypothetical.
No, Marte, they are asking hypotheticals. That is the problem, is that they keep asking hypotheticals to just get one aspect at a time. So at one part, they're only asking about what. Hold on. They're only asking about like what is obstruction, to understand the term obstruction at one point. But when they ask, well, is this obstruction? You say, well, if these other aspects of what was happening are included, well, they're not asking about the other aspects. They're trying to like isolate just this thing to understand the term so that you guys can agree on just that term and then move forward.
Correct.
But you keep adding in the other things that they don't want to include yet.
I'll address this right now with one question. We can just dumb this down and answer this. I'll ask Pisco. Can I ask you a question?
Why is he asking a question instead of answering mine?
He's not going to.
This is great. He is. Just to be clear, I don't think he's answered a single one of my questions this entire time. Just to be clear.
I'll answer the question for Pisco. So Pisco, if they write this down in a court of law and the officer says the person Pretti was obstructing me from doing an arrest, would he be wrong to write this down?
He didn't even answer my question.
But hold on. That has nothing to do with what we're saying.
He would be wrong.
Yes, because I don't think he was obstructing.
He would be correct.
Yeah, I know you disagree, but that's not addressing a relevant hypothetical. Yes, I know that we disagree on the overall, like whether or not he obstructed or not. But the question that Irrelevant asked is just completely different than that. The question he asked was a hypothetical in which there's a crowd of people in between the officer and his lawful purpose of investigation, and the crowd they're not Antifa super soldiers, they're not chanting, and he's asking this hypothetical to ground down what you mean by obstruction. And the question was as follows: would everyone in that crowd, because they are in fact delaying, they are in fact physically obstructing, would they be committing obstruction in the legal sense? And your answer is
no.
Of course. So it's not enough to know. It's not enough to know they're in the way.
What you're doing is you're changing the dynamic of this.
But that's not what Alex Pretti was doing. That's my point.
People. So was Alex Pretti not involved? Was he not about first?
No,
That's not the basis either.
No, what you're doing is you're doing a false dichotomy. You're inserting a non-involved party.
Where is involvement and non-involvement in the test for obstruction?
You said it's a
Marte,
random crowd.
They're
not
the argument.
protest.
Marte, earlier the argument was that just because he got in between the officer and the woman, that this was necessarily obstruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So that
the
again.
crowd
Hold on. Wait.
also-
Hold on. That is the
There
part
was no
that
crowd.
hold on. Wait. Hold on. Stop.
But I didn't have breakfast.
Hold on.
Yeah, keep
The
spurting.
part that they're disagreeing on
Non-argument.
is
Can we
whether
just let
is
Tom
the other
talk, please?
aspects of this.
It's
That
very low.
it's that like when the again, you guys could right click on my name and turn the volume all the way up to 200%. That's like you just got to be able to. You just have to turn me up. But the parts that they're disagreeing on are the other aspects of this. And so initially the argument was if he just gets in the way and he is in between the woman and the officer, this is necessarily obstruction. That was the argument that was made earlier. And so that's the part that they're disagreeing with, is that it is necessarily obstruction, that there have to be other aspects included in order for that to be the case, like that there's an active investigation or an active detainment or an active arrest or something like that. That was the part that they were disagreeing with.
Also, it doesn't
Okay,
matter.
so that was
the
the
obstruction is not
the
justified.
crowd- hold on.
Even if he did obstruction, the shit is not
Roland,
justified.
you just
Like,
got
this
caught
entire
lying.
thing is a red herring.
No, I
really-
didn't.
really
In
quick.
in the crowd example, it was an active investigation.
So irrelevant. You just got caught lying earlier when you said he was
No,
trying to
he
help
didn't.
the officers. He wasn't trying to
No,
do this
no.
at all. When we played the video.
No, no, no,
Why
no,
do you-
hang on.
why you-
Whoa.
When we
What is
played
this
the video
thing?
tape, he
No,
was
hold on,
helping
this
the
is-
officers
Tom,
while
this is
it
the
came
problem.
2 seconds of it.
So
No,
hold on.
number two, you're
hold on,
Tom,
hold
Tom, I can
on,
explain-
let
I can
Marte
explain what
finish.
Marte just tried to do. Let me explain what he just tried to do. He tried to say
Tom,
irrelevant.
go ahead, Pisco.
You were caught lying. So he said
No,
irrelevant. You were caught
irrelevant was
lying.
not
After this,
So
Can I respond after this?
I want to explain what Marte is trying to do because it's really quite slimy. He's saying that irrelevant is lying because he said that he was trying to help her up. Now, we were saying that in response to you saying, well, what other purpose would he have with respect to getting in between someone
We brought
other
up the
than
video
to,
in order to
oh
confirm
my
that.
God,
What
let
are
me
you talking
fucking
about? Right.
finish.
The video
Let me
just
fucking,
shut
let me
now.
fucking, let me fucking
Go ahead and finish lying. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish lying.
Let me
help him
fucking
lie,
finish.
Pisco.
Shaking shit up. Go ahead.
We did not make the claim that
We didn't
in
do
the
that.
immediate instant in which, yes, we know he puts a hand across the officer. Yes, we know he's
Oh.
facing the officer. The question isn't whether or not in the
Which you also
immediate
declined.
when he intervenes there that he is taking actions in that moment that are the direct picking her up. It's that's the intent. That is the intent of him to help her up. And the way that yes, you can shake your head all you want. You
He
can
didn't
shake your head
even- he
all
didn't even
you
move
want.
his intent.
You
You
can
just
shake
got
your
a
head
teaser.
all.
He was
Let me
lying.
finish
Shut
my
the
fucking
fuck
thought.
up.
You just got
Let me
exposed.
finish my fucking
Martel,
thought. Let me
hold
finish
on,
my fucking thought.
How do
Let
you
me
know
finish
it
my
was his
fucking
intent?
thought.
How do you know that
Let
was
me
his
finish-
intent?
How
do you know that was his intent?
Let me finish. Yeah. I am
answer
going
my
to
question
answer this
afterwards
question.
then.
You want? Yeah. So I'm going to answer that question. How we get to intent? How we get to intent is through circumstantial evidence. Now, the first thing to note about what Marte asked was not whether or not, like 100% we know the intent. He said, what other possible rationale could we have? But in this case, I think there's fairly good evidence that he was trying to help her and eventually help her up. Why? Actions
don't know his
speak to intent. Actions, no, I think that we're fairly sure what the intent was, is to help this woman up. And actions speak to intent. Number one, he already showed in that second before he was helping a woman cross the street. So he'd already shown that was a concern of his. Number two, no, wait, let me finish.
He was holding her hand and letting her cross the street. What are you talking about? There's no video of that.
Hold on. Let him finish.
You guys don't
Didn't watch the video. Just to be
seriously.
clear. These people
You guys-
Hold on,
you guys don't like-
Marte. Hold on, Pisco. Hold on.
That's a
Let
different
him finish.
situation,
But-
Pisco.
but
Wait, why
hold
can't I build
on.
the case for intent?
Holy
You're not
shit.
letting me do it.
Let him finish.
Let him build
but
the case.
Pisco, try to win quickly. It has been like 2 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay. So number one, he's shown the tendency to help women across the street in the same context with the other woman. Number two, he has no basis to believe that absence of another intent. He has no basis to believe a detention has happened, no reasonable basis. Number three, eventually, like half a second later, where Tom paused it, he does try to pick up the woman. And that all speaks to his intent. His intent, which was to help these people get to the other side of the road. It's like the chicken crossing the road. That is what way more plausible than trying to obstruct an arrest that was never perceivable, and which you grant is absurd to think that was happening.
Okay,
Can I
so real
respond to
quick,
that?
Jake, Yeah, Jake, but you seem to disagree. We may have to go back to the video, and so I just want to make sure that we agree on this. Do you agree that after he got in the way, at some point he does turn to help the woman up?
No, I disagree with that.
You do not agree with that. Okay, so
he never
let's
attempted
show
it
the
at all.
video. Show the video.
for a second. Okay, so hold
We
on,
can show the
hold
video,
on,
but
hold on.
really
So
quick, hold on,
hold on,
really quick,
hold on,
hold on.
hold on, hold on. No. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's go to the video first. Again, nobody needs to talk during this. We're gonna play the fucking video, and we're just gonna go through this
See
for a second.
where he's helping
then...
her cross the street like an old lady.
You can laugh. It's right there.
Yeah, we'll see it right now.
What is he doing right there? Wait, what is he doing right there? What is that?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
so
is
right
a great
here-
question. What is he doing? What is he
She
doing?
was-
Right
What-
here.
what is he doing with that woman right there? What is he doing with that?
Hold on. So right here, I will just narrate this for a second, and then we'll pause and we'll go back to Jake. So we're right here. He does have his arm around this woman. The officer shoves the other woman. He gets in between. He gets pepper sprayed, puts his hand up, turns
And
around,
what does he do?
and then he does seem to be helping the other woman up, and we can
What
watch
was
it
that
from
to the other guy?
this angle
hold on,
as
let me
well.
break it
That
down.
he is here looking like he is
He's mugging her. He's mugging
turning
her.
around and then attempting to help her up right here. That does seem to be the case from what it is that I'm looking at. So Jake,
He's mugging her.
100%.
No,
ahead.
no, I
So
believe.
he's,
I believe.
so
so.
let me
He's
respond
mugging
to
her,
this.
right?
hold on,
He's
hold on,
mugging her.
hold on.
Let me respond to
Jake,
this. Let me respond.
Jake, go ahead.
Can you mute the oppositions really quick while I talk about
I'll mute
this?
If they
Yeah, sure.
interrupt you,
and-
I will mute them.
Just to be clear, I want the
just-
same treatment for when I start talking to this.
That's fine.
Yes,
That's
if,
fine.
losers,
if
losers.
people
Perfectly fair.
talk,
Perfectly fair.
I have been muting people. So go ahead, Jake.
Okay, great. So they made the claim that that he was helping her cross the street. Go back to the other video where she was in his arms.
Wait, so is he
Wait,
just
wait,
going to pivot?
should-
Wait, are you going to
Hold on,
let him
hold
run.
on, hold on,
What the fuck?
hold on. This one, or
I'm addressing the first claim. I'm just addressing
this,
the first
oh,
claim.
you're
dude.
talking
Calm
about
down.
at the beginning when he's
Yeah,
right here.
no, the first video that you played where she
You-
was in the yeah. Thank you.
You're
Play
going
that
to need
one
a
really quick.
different video. There's a different video with like
Can-
more
can-
footage prior.
oh,
I'm
can-
asking
can-
him to help.
Can you mute him?
I'm asking
Can you
him
mute
to
him?
help.
Hold on.
I'm literally-
If
can
you
you
can,
mute-
if
can
you
you
can
mute
say
him?
that to me irrelevant, I don't think. I
Yeah,
don't know
I'll get
that
you.
I
I'll
have
get you the video because there's
other
more
one.
seconds leading up to this to show what leads
Yes.
up to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
there
So
is.
in the
There is.
meantime,
If you can get
everybody
that,
quiet.
please.
Jake, go ahead. And what was your?
Yeah, so
contention with
real
this part
quick,
here.
with the first intent, Pisco was saying, look, he's helping her across the street. Now, before that, she ran into his arms. She didn't, he wasn't helping her across the street or anything like that nature, right? So this is the video right here. There's no evidence that that woman was being, he was helping her across the street. So I don't know what we're looking at here. Okay, so what? This was before. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing.
Good question.
Yeah, Pisco, you got to throw
Yeah,
that out
nothing.
there.
So let
Wait,
me.
wait,
let's-
wait, wait,
let's-
wait,
let's-
wait,
so,
wait, wait,
hold on.
Wait a
I'm
second.
gonna send you
Wait a
something.
second. What
Yeah,
the
because
fuck?
nice
Wait,
practice.
wait. That's not what
nothing
we're
to do with
talking about. That's not what. That's not the moment.
Yeah,
we're
that
talking
was
about.
not the-
claim that he was
That was
helping her
not.
cross
Hold
the
on. Wait.
street.
That was
That's
not.
not the
Hold on.
moment
Hold
we're
on. Wait.
talking
Wait.
about.
Hold on.
He's
Hold on. That was
not
not the right.
Let me-
Hold
let
on.
me
That
address
was
your
not the right.
Tom,
Hold
I'm
on,
gonna
Jake.
send you a
Jake.
video.
Jake. Jake.
I'm
Jake.
sending you a
Hold on.
video
Stop.
right now
Stop.
in
Stop.
Discord.
That was
I'm
not
sending
the
you a
right.
video
That was
right
not
now
the
in
right
Discord
video.
with more
Yes.
context.
That was not the right
Irrelevant. You
video.
were like
So
your
just-
namesake.
just-
Yeah, let's see if he's helping her cross the street.
Good one.
That
I
specific
named
woman.
myself that.
Yeah,
So
accurate.
real quick, with the first
Good
video
one.
that you showed, can you mute them, please? With the first video that you showed, it shows her, with his arms, whatever, right? That doesn't
Yeah,
prove
that's
anything
what
that
I'm
he was
talking
helping
about.
her
That's what I'm
cross the
talking
street. Can I finish? Can I finish?
I'm
Your
giving
claim
the
was that
context
he
for
was.
that.
Let me finish, bro. Your claim was that he was helping her cross the street. Not the case at all. There's plenty of videos prior
He's helping
before
her
that.
walk. He's
I'm
helping her
giving the
walk.
video prior.
not-
We are
you
watching the
literally
video prior
said-
right now.
Oh
We are
my
watching the
God.
video.
Okay.
We're getting the context.
Bro,
Is this the
I
other one
asked
that
you
you
This
were
is the
talking
video
about?
I sent you.
Okay. Oh, you
Okay,
sent it to
so-
me. Okay. All right.
Where is he
Yeah,
helping
I
her
am
across the
too.
street?
Okay. I got it. I
Yeah,
got
where-
it. I got
where's-
it.
Giving
where's she
him the
helping her-
context.
Hold on.
Stop
Hold on.
losing
Hold
your
on.
mind.
Hold on.
Bro, you didn't even let me
Okay.
finish.
Hold on. Okay. So this is the.
Yeah, she runs away. Yeah, they're going towards the sidewalk.
Stop narrating. Watch the video.
Yeah, let's see if he helps her cross the street. See if he helps her cross the street. He's filming.
Stop talking. Stop talking or mute yourself.
Bro.
I want people to not
Yeah,
talk
let's
during
see
the
if he
video.
helps her across the
We'll get to
street.
it afterwards.
Okay. He's obstructing traffic.
She gets pushed, and then he helps her across the street. Literally proof right there.
What is he doing there? What is he doing there? What is he doing there? What is he doing? What is he doing there? What is he doing there? What is he doing there?
You gotta.
What is he doing there?
Across the street, you fucking moron. She's on the sidewalk, you fucking idiot.
What is going on? Oh my! What is he doing?
Into his arms. She got
Hold
pushed
on.
into his arms.
He's running towards that.
Hold
He
on.
grabs her.
Hold on.
That's it.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
To do
Hold
what?
on.
Idiot.
Hold
To
on.
do what?
Oh my
To do what?
God.
To
You guys
do
are
what?
Hold on.
stretching the
To
shit.
do what?
Hold on.
To do
Hold
what?
on.
To do
Hold
what?
on.
What is he
Hold
doing?
on. Hold on.
Jake,
Hold on.
what is he
Hold
doing?
on.
Jake,
Hold
what
on.
is he
Hold
doing?
on.
I'm not even
Hold on.
breaking
Hold on.
down my
What is he doing?
analysis here
Quiet.
because I'm being interrupted
Hold
by
on.
these
Jake, what is
retards.
he doing?
Hold on. Hold on.
waving
Hold on.
his
Hold on.
arms
Hold on.
over
Hold on.
there.
Hold on.
He's
Stop.
not
Into his
Hold on.
arms,
Jake.
bro.
not helping law
Jake.
enforcement
Quiet.
either.
Hold on. Hold on.
What is he doing there?
Stop.
Jake?
He's
Stop.
not helping her
Pisco.
across the street, you
Holy
fucking
shit.
moron. That's
No,
what
I'm
he's
not asking what
doing.
he's not doing. I'm asking what he's doing.
He's not allowing this, but he's doing this
No,
against
no,
her.
wait. So
All right. Hold on. I gotta mute everybody. Okay. Jake, in this part right here, when this is the when he has like this his arm around this woman right here, what is it that you are claiming is happening right here? Is his arms around this woman and they're walking over here?
Yeah. So he doesn't even fully attempt to help her cross the entire street here, if that's their claim, which it was. So let's look at the footage. And then he doesn't even escort her all the way to the street. That's not crossing the street at all.
Because he shoves another woman.
Oh my God.
And he tries to help the other woman that's getting shoved.
So because somebody else got shoved, therefore he's not helping her cross the street, right? Because they're still on the street.
He was helping her
to cross the
Please,
street.
hold on, please, make him answer. Make him answer. What was he helping her from?
What was he doing?
What was he helping her from?
Was he trying to rape her?
Hold on, quote unquote. He was filming on the street, filming the whole fucking incident, and then
What was he doing with his arm there? Jake,
Okay,
what was
hold
he
on,
doing
hold
there?
on, wait, hold on,
That doesn't
hold
prove
on,
that he was helping her cross the street.
What was he doing?
Jake,
What was he doing?
Hold
What
on,
was he doing?
Hold on,
He was
hold
hugging
on,
her. It
hold
was a
on.
hug.
Stop talking.
That's what he was
Stop
doing.
talking. Stop
He was
talking.
trying
Stop
to rape
talking.
her.
Holy shit, this is not that fucking difficult, dude. Holy shit. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Jake, hold on. Stop talking. Hold on. Okay. When his arm is around her, is your claim that he just didn't fully help her get all the way to the other side of the street, or are you saying he helped her like some of the way across? Or because earlier you said he didn't even help her all the way onto the sidewalk, so you seem to agree that he did help her across the street to some degree. But what is the hold on Pisco, I don't need your help. I don't need your help. I got it. What is so what I need? Yeah, so I need like a concise answer. Like, are you saying he helped her some of the way, or he didn't help her at all, or what is the claim?
No, he okay. As far as the claim goes that he was helping her cross the street, I reject that completely. This woman was running away from an ice.
Are they on the street?
Are they on the street? Let me respond. Yeah, they're on the street. So what? Did they cross it? Did they cross it? Did they cross it together? Did they cross it? Hold on, Pisco. Did they cross the street together?
They were trying to cross the street.
Did they cross the
correct?
street? No, they're not.
Was he trying to help her?
There's no. Bro, hold on.
So what do you think crossing the street? What do you think crossing the street is?
Hold on, Jake. Hold on, Jake. Hold on. Stop. Jake, you answered the question. Jake, you answered. Hold on, Jake. Hold on, wait. Hold on, wait. That Pisco was trying to ask a question, and he hasn't even gotten it out yet. So Pisco, finish your question that you were asking Jake.
Yes. So they're on the street. They granted that.
Yeah.
He has his arm around her, helping her to finish crossing the street.
Did they finish?
No.
They didn't get to finish. He's helping her cross the street. You dipshit.
How do you know his intent?
Based on circumstantial evidence, what other thing would he be doing? What other thing would he be doing there? Because I'm not a fucking. I'm not an alien. I'm not an alien. I know what fucking body language is.
Can you prove? Hold on. Can you prove that his intent was him helping her cross the street? Can you prove that?
Yes, because nothing else seems possible.
Tell me.
Yes, because
nothing else seems possible. She was running away from an ICE officer. Don't you think that she ran into his arms? Isn't that plausible? You fucking idiot.
Wait.
Yeah, she was running. She literally saw her running away from the officer, and he half hugged her. He half hugged her.
Hold on, Jake. Jake, let him answer the question.
How do you know that his intent? How do you know that his intent was
let him
help
answer.
her across
Jake,
the street,
let him
bro?
answer the question.
Prove it.
Jake, you don't have to keep asking. Let him answer the question.
How we
Please
prove
go, prove
intent,
it.
how we prove intent is circumstantial evidence.
Okay, what is it then? Tell me the evidence.
Yeah. So watching a human being put their arm around a person in icy conditions.
So it's just your feelings.
And marshaling them around.
Feelings.
And marshaling them around. Any human being using their common sense and everyday day-to-day interactions, given the absence of any other intent, and given the fact of the icy conditions there, would conclude that he's trying to help her walk, or no?
No. At best,
Okay, so what would you conclude? So what would you conclude? Why did he do that? Why did he do that? So the question is, why did he do that? Why did he do that?
You didn't give me
Why did he do that?
evidence.
So Jake, why did he do that? 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 I've asked this 30 times. Why did he do it?
Probably because she ran into his arms, fucker. That it's very simple. Yeah, you saw it. Hold on, really quick. Pisco, let me ask you a question. Again, you haven't proved his intent was to help her cross the street. How do you know that?
You're just evidence.
No, because you're just feeling that. I would say, hold on, I would say
circumstantial evidence.
Here's my hold on. This is your feelings, bro. Here's my feelings. That she ran into his arms and that's all he did. What
he wanted a hug, bro. Hey, girl.
What does yours make more valuable than mine?
Where's my hug?
What is your perspective? What is your perspective?
Where's my hug?
Your perspective? How is it more valid than mine? How?
Yeah, because
why?
In your day,
because why? Because of your feelings? Because you feel like he was helping her cross the street.
Hold on, Jake. Let him answer the question.
Number one. Okay. It actually, since we're talking about his intent, his lived experience matters. This guy's
no, you don't know his intent. You don't know. You didn't.
Wait, you're asking.
No, let him finish.
Hang on a second. If you're asking about his, if you're asking,
bro, I haven't even been talking. You're chipping out.
You're talking in the middle of saying you're not talking. Shut up.
If you're asking about his specific intent, of course his lived experience matters in terms of a totality of circumstances of what we think Alex Pretti was doing in that moment. And Alex Pretti has shown in his past that he's part of an occupation that's very laudable and that helps people. That's number one. Number two, in that moment, putting his arm around a person like that, and walking with her, accompanying her, we have seen that movement in your lived day-to-day experience with people's elderly situations, people who have just had injuries, walking off of a sports field. We are human beings. We don't have to ignore the fact that we've seen that kind of motion and that kind of interaction thousands of times in our life. And usually when that happens, it's because someone is assisting another person when they're hunched like that, walking gingerly in ice conditions. And you would have to be a fucking dipshit like you are to be like, oh, I just wanted a hug, bro. He was just, it was for no reason.
What the fuck? So basically your argument is just my feelings. That's all you're doing, Pisco. You didn't prove anything. You literally didn't prove anything. You said
so hold on.
You didn't prove anything.
Hold on. So Pisco, if it turned out that she ran into his arms and then with his arm around her, he was walking with her to the sidewalk, would that change your claim at all?
No, it would be consistent with it. It would be consistent.
Okay, so hold on. Wait, stop.
It's irrelevant. So they're on the street, right? They're on the street.
Did they get to the sidewalk?
Yes.
Did they get to the sidewalk?
They didn't get there. They're trying to help her. That's my claim.
They didn't get there. Oh, great. So we didn't help her cross the street. You fucking idiot.
Hold on, Jake. Hold on. Okay, so I don't think whether or not he was helping her or if he just had his arm around her while they were walking, I don't think either one of these make any difference. I don't know if they'll.
Yeah, can you prove that he told her? Oh, by the way, I'm helping you cross the street.
Hold on.
Any evidence?
Hold on. So I don't think whether or not he's helping her or not, I don't think it matters. Like the help.
He made an absolute claim and he can't prove it.
Hold on. Stop. This is not, holy shit, dude. This is not fucking difficult. I don't know why is this so fucking hard. So whether or not he's helping her doesn't seem to make a difference to his claim. It's about the fact that he does have his arm around the woman while they are walking to the side, and that they are walking together, and then once he's done with her is when he all of a sudden gets into it with the officer. So it does seem as though they are heading towards the sidewalk when this happens in the beginning. I do want to move off of this. So at the point when they are actually getting into it, actually, let's go here. The Christy Nome and other government officials made the claim that Pretti showed up to do maximal damage and that he had a gun. And they did make it sound as though he was holding a gun in his hand. Marte, do you agree with the government's claim that he showed up to do maximal damage?
So here's my, and I'm going to be charitable and offer olive branch, something that Pisco and true to his name, Irrelevant saying. So this is my olive branch. I'm going to say, sorry, let me close this out real quick. So here's the thing, though. We can't prove, and I haven't seen evidentiary claims of not just claims, but evidence showing that he just came up there to just assault or do any of this other stuff. But we can go off of the actions of him showing up, kicking taillights out, spitting on officers and all this. If we're looking at a pattern of behavior, we have to lead this up. Even Pisco had said this previous in his argument. A case. So if I was to build a case, I would say he wasn't there to aid or assist law enforcement. This was actually the opposite. He was there to impede or be in the way, I would say, more or less, because on the first video I saw of him kicking out taillights, the second video we see him
wait, Marte, hold on. Wait. Hold on. All right, I don't think anybody's making the claim that he was there to help law enforcement. I'm asking, do you agree with the claim that he was there to do maximal damage? And I think they said harm as many people as possible or something like that. Do you agree with that claim?
I think that's kind of hyperbolic to say maximal damage.
Okay. Irrelevant, do you think hold on. Irrelevant, do you think that is kind of hyperbolic from the government?
No, that's just like a flat out lie. There's no evidence to show that whatsoever. Also, just to be, hold on before we move on. I sent you proof, Tom, by the way, that she was not walking across the road. She was shoved by the ICE agent and into Alex Pretti's arms, to which Alex Pretti helped her.
Tom, do you understand?
I said you proof. I was looking for fucking Elon Musk locked that shit down, by the way. You can watch the first couple seconds of that video. No, stop talking.
Do you want to continue this, or do you want?
She got pushed into his arms.
Disrespecting form. There's proof of that, but
I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna leave that there.
Guys, really quick.
So relevant.
Guys, really quick.
Okay, so hold on. Hold on.
Do you want to go back to the other subject, or let's talk about this?
Yeah, we're gonna stay on this. So the claim that they were there to do, that he was there to do maximal damage. Jake, is this a hyperbolic claim, or is this a lie as Irrelevant said?
Yeah, so I would say this, that as far as the maximal damage comment, I would say that's very hyperbolic, for sure. But I would say there is evidence, according to what's his face, Irrelevant over here, saying that there's no evidence that he was going to commit maximal damage or any type of damage, any type of interference. Which is lies.
Wait,
because
no,
11 days.
How we walk that
Can I finish?
Any
Can I finish?
maximal damage, any kind of damage, any kind of interference. You saw that in real time, Pisco. You saw that in real time. I know you saw that. Okay, all right. So go ahead. Go ahead and lie about
Jake.
Tom, can you mute them, bro?
What you're saying, Jake.
These guys are fucking idiots.
Finish what you're saying.
Can you mute the morons, please?
Yes,
so really quick.
I have been muting them while they've been talking. I've also have been having to mute you guys as well. It'd be easier if both of you guys don't want other people talking over you. Neither one of you guys talk over each other, because nobody can hear anybody when you guys do this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Totally get you. Totally get you there. Anyways, going back to your question, is that as far as like the statements from the Trump administration about maximal damage, I think that is hyperbolic. However, I would say that there's evidence that Alex Pretti specifically was there to have intents of interfering in ICE agents. Now, 11 days prior before his death, we saw him kick a taillight and spit on an ICE agent. So there's evidence on according to fucking Irrelevant over here, this fucking moron, saying that there's no evidence that he was gonna go in there do maximal damage, but he was there to intently advocate ICE agents, right?
Okay,
so
hold on.
We did
say hold on.
So as far as the Trump administration, it is hyperbolic. However, there is evidence that he is an agitator.
Okay,
Yes.
so Pisco, do you agree that this was evidence that he was going to come up and I want you guys to chill for a minute, okay? I got questions for you guys. I want you guys to hold off for a minute, okay? With the back and forth, I'll let you guys get into it. Just hold off for a
Respect the
minute.
platform.
We only have about 10 minutes before we're supposed to end, so we gotta get through some shit. Pisco, do you agree that this was evidence that they were going to that he was going to interfere or cause damage to cars or anything like that with the film from 11 days earlier?
Yeah, he already did it.
Or cause damage. I mean, it's character evidence. It's character evidence of prior bad act.
So evidence, yes.
And well, it would be very dubious whether in any kind of litigation that would be able to be brought up, because obviously character evidence is very specifically guarded. If you recall in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, they actually disallowed the other bad act evidence when he was like observing in the other day of the Walmart people saying, "I just want to fucking kill this people." I know it's a different case, fuck.
He said was CBS.
I know it's a different case. What I'm trying to refer is the fucking rule about character evidence and evidence of prior bad acts. You dipshit. I'm not making them equal on any other term other than the rule. The federal rules of evidence provide for limitations on your use of other bad act evidence. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So yes, I'm understanding that it's character evidence whatsoever. And yeah, I think that shows that he is not there to help the police, which is what Marte was like. That's like the straw man, I guess, of whether you have obstructive intent. What it doesn't show is that he's an assassin. What, kicking a fucking car and spitting on an officer shows that you're an assassin? In what fucking world? In this world, by the way, they just told you that all the actions that we saw regarding Pretti and putting his arm around, he's like, you can't read minds. You don't know that he was just trying to get a hug, bro. You don't know that shit. But they're like, oh, he kicked a fucking taillight and he spit an officer. We know that there's a good basis to believe he's an assassin. It is so laughably ridiculous, this double standard. And additionally, it's a lie. They don't want to say it's a lie because they're bootlicking shills that love cops and love the police and love this administration. And so they're not going to say it's a lie because they're bought and paid for by this government.
Tom, can I respond?
Can I respond? Because Jake used my name.
I'm going to come back to you guys, but Marte, you were initially called this a hyperbolic claim. Pisco saying that there isn't evidence, and he brought up the Kyle Rittenhouse case where they didn't allow character evidence like that when Kyle Rittenhouse said that he would want to shoot looters who were at a CVS. They tried to present this evidence to say that this shows that he showed up to the Kenosha protest to shoot protesters and looters and people there. He already went there with intent to try to shoot people and stop people, and they didn't allow this in that case. Why do you think that they would allow something like that in the case with Pretti?
So the problem with this is he brings up a different situation, and I think it's a false equivalent. I can demonstrate how. The reason why nobody gives a shit about your performative theater irrelevant. So back to this. Here's the thing, though.
Really, you do.
We bring up when we bring up the Alex with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Like, let's just say that I disagree with that. I totally disagree. I think they should have brought that up. It still doesn't prove the fact that this is still an evidentiary claim and still demonstration that they could use in this case. Mind you, this case hasn't been wrapped up fully yet. There has never been charges filed one way or the other. Kristi Noem is hyperbolic when she says this, but if we're using demonstrations, which I would actually be consistent by agreeing that if you bring up the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, yes, they should include that in that, but also I can be consistent in saying, yes, we can include the kick taillights and everything else out to show this, because what Pisco does, I'll wrap this up really quick, is use evidentiary claims and demonstrations for walking across the street that are absent from what we see, but then when we bring up things that are clearly on video that tie this up and we're building a case, Pisco wants his cake and having to eat it too, because when we want to build a case, it's bad for us, but when he builds a case, it's good for him. This is crazy and fallacious argumentation.
Tom, I just wanted to, I take issue with it because that's not the case. I just brought it up, the fact that it would be limited in the sense of any kind of trial.
You strawman the entire argument.
Almost certainly not relevant for the self-defense argument. It's almost certainly not relevant for the use of force analysis when it comes to the Fourth Amendment precedent on whether the deadly force is reasonable or not. And that was me saying, listen, this is almost certainly not relevant for the legal test, which is what we're here for, justification. But I put apart from that and said, even considering the evidence for just like our intuitions about whether the administration lied, that of course is not evidence that he's an assassin or that he's trying to inflict maximum damage. And so that's what I didn't try to have my cake and eat. I didn't have my cake and eat it too. I applied to both the legal test and the determination of the lie.
Jake, can I
Also,
respond
hold on,
to
Pisco.
Also, just to be clear,
Understand how he's smuggling and
just to be clear, this video of the tail light that you guys keep hanging on was days after, circulated days after the claim that was made that he was an assassin. And yes, it is
True.
because
Who
we're
cares? It's
talking.
irrelevant, you dumb fuck.
No, please, you gotta.
It's relevant to the lie.
It's relevant
It's relevant to
because
the
we're
lie.
bringing
It's
up.
nothing to do with the claim.
Please,
Tom has all of us muted.
Tom, you gotta. Yeah,
He has all of us muted
For
right
some
now,
reason,
guys.
I can. Oh, here I can hear them on my end. That's the problem. So
Sorry,
the
I
issue is
accidentally. It's my
relevant.
bad. I accidentally server muted them instead of muting them. My bad.
I got you. So the problem is we're talking about the validity of the claim that whether or not it's truthful, what they said 2 hours after the fact. There was no widely circulated. I don't even know if this video was damn near on the internet. Okay. This video was not circulated at the time. The Trump administration sure as fuck didn't know about it because the moment they knew about it, they posted it everywhere. So no, we cannot use this as evidence for the claim that they made before they even knew about it. So no, you can't use that as an argument. They made this claim. They made this claim without knowing about the video. So they had none of this evidence, and it's not even evidence, but they had none of it anyway.
This is ridiculous.
So can I respond to that? Can I respond to Pisco really quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Pisco made an entire fucking straw man of the argument that he literally responded to me. I never said anything about again, hyperbolic. I do agree that, yeah, this guy's not an assassin. He wasn't there to assassinate all the fucking ICE agents, nothing like that. Never made that fucking claim at all. Pisco went on an entire rant how the administration is lying, this and that. And by the way, he doesn't have any proof that they were lying about it. Could have been that they were just wrong on the situations of how they were judging that. And I would say they even said that he bared a firearm. That's not true. Totally agree with you, Pisco. Not true. Totally unintentional.
So why haven't they corrected
totally
the record? Why haven't they corrected
However,
the record?
hold on. Let me get back to my point. Your point was that this guy was an assassin. My point was, specifically, look, this is hyperbolic statements, but we have evidence that this guy was already violent 11 days before this situation. So engage with that.
Times of the claims. Not at the times of the claims. Not at the times of the claims.
Shut the fuck up, man, right now. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, bro. I'm talking to you, Pisco. If we have already evidence that this guy was already violent before, I know we're doing quarterback analysis here, but the point is that when you look at the situation, that this guy already had violent intents. We saw him spit on a police officer. Not only that, we already have situations with Black Lives Matter and all these protesters that already burned down cities for billions of dollars of collateral damage, Tesla burnings, the Chaz takeovers, Seattle, 6 blocks of Seattle. So obviously these protesters seem to be violent. So I think it's fair to say that the assumption of that they were wrong, that he bared arms, I don't even care about that. How about you engage with my argument that we already had evidence that this guy was violent before that?
Their brains turn off and they just start becoming robots and they just go through all the great.
Are you gonna answer my fucking question or just talk?
So obviously your standard is ridiculous. Your standard is like, well, because we can't read their mind with a fucking machine, we can never prove intent. And you're like, well, you can't prove it's a lie because how do you know they're just not mistaken? Well, obviously with any kind of claim, you look at indicia of whether or not it's a knowingly false claim. And one thing that we look to see whether or not someone is lying, well, when the truth is brought up to them, when the truth is actually brought up to them, do they own it? Do they care to correct themselves? And that would indicate a character for truthfulness. And someone who is cavalier about the truth and doesn't give a fuck about whether or not what they're arguing for is true or not, those people we judge to be less just like innocently mistaken and more people who are intentionally, volitionally lying about shit. And then obviously you have nothing to respond to irrelevance point. You can't assess whether or not a statement was a lie with respect to those specific statements at issue based on information that wasn't brought to their attention at that time. And so unfortunately, it seems like your standard would be like, we can never prove anyone is lying ever. I mean, like, what would you take ever to be a lie on that view? Just because someone can say that it was a mistake, you can never show a lie.
Okay. Marte, that we do have, I think Marte said that he had to leave
Stop
around
raising your hand, you
11
fucking
o'clock. So we are at 11 o'clock real quick. So we're going to let everybody give closing statements. But first, I did want to let...
We didn't talk about the shooting. We never talked about the shooting. We never talked about deadly force.
Because you guys were fucking obfuscating the whole time, yes.
Yeah, bogging us down in bullshit, Pisco.
Yeah, you're right. She was giving, the Mr. Pepper Spray is resisting.
Obstruction
the pepper spray is resisting.
the entire
We're the
conversation.
one bogging it down. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
But okay, so if you guys want to give closing statements, you can, I guess, talk about the shooting if you want, instead of the obstruction this time. But we'll start with irrelevant, and then we'll go to Jake, then Pisco, and then Marte. So irrelevant, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if there's this is hard closing, or if we can stay a little bit longer, but I do want to say this.
If you guys are able to stay, we can keep going. We talked about this before, because we were late starting. So Marte, if you're good to keep going, Jake, you guys said 11 was your time. So if you guys are able to go to 11:30, we can take time
I got
to
you.
get into that. Yeah,
we can stay 10 minutes over.
So part of my closing arguments here is we have no convincing argument whatsoever on this side. I've literally debated people on TikTok that I feel like I was
gonna say, go ahead and make the argument on the shooting then. So if we got 10 minutes, let's go ahead and make your argument.
Okay, so there's no justification for the shooting. There were 7 people deep on top of this guy. They disarmed him. We already got concessions that there was a lack of communication there. That should have been enough to be able to say there was an unjustified shoot, because that communication needs to happen. That is mission critical communication whenever you're dealing with an individual, that has a firearm, very obviously. But also on top of this, you have the individual who is shooting him when he has been pepper sprayed, thrown to the ground, and he's been shown to be no actual credible threat to anybody around him. There's he's not punching. He's not doing any of these things. So no, there's absolutely no justification for the shoot. That's number one. Number two, I want to address the fact that they kept bringing up context for a video that I would argue is even still weak, context for the administration statements that I would argue is weak, but wasn't even perceived by the administration at the time. This information was not circulated widely online, and it is very obvious that they were making these claims without this information, and there is no justification in that first video, in the information that they had, that he was an assassin. There is no information to be able to indicate he was an assassin, and their refusal to engage in anything but tail light kicking shows that they know that.
Okay, so Marte, if at the time if the gun is already taken off and they are if somebody was yelling gun, 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 or shoot, 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 or something like that, would you at least agree that this was a very messy act in the way that they handled this?
So with the communication, I'll agree with him. Now, I do have to address the fact that he keeps bringing up assassin. Me nor Jake never brought up assassin. He's actually kind of conflating
real
things.
quick, I'm trying to give the opportunity for us to talk about the shooting instead of the other things. If you guys want, if we keep going back to that, we're just going to end up talking about that again.
Tom brought up the administration statement.
It's up to you guys.
The reason we talked about it is because Tom brought it up, and Irrelevant was responding to Tom.
Bro, let Tom talk, bro. Let Tom talk. We're trying to do closing here.
No, we're not doing closings. We are trying to get into the shooting for the last 10 minutes. We'll get to closings after.
Oh shit! I thought it was my closing. My bad.
So yeah, so on the it's okay. So on the shooting, do you, Marte, agree that this was a messy shooting? And earlier you said you thought it was justified. So if you do agree that it's messy, why do you think it's justified?
It's justified, and I can explain why. Would it not make sense that there can be bad communication and a justified shooting? Could that ever possibly happen in any realm of existence in any law enforcement?
If by possible, it is logically possible. It is possible. It is possible. Yes, possible.
Correct. So while you answered that, so it can be possible that there could be miscommunication and a justification for shooting. Now that we got that out of the way, what I saw was as soon as he was reaching back after he got shot, he could have had a secondary firearm or anything else. You would rather act.
Yes, it's possible. It's possible he had a second one too.
Hold on, Pisco. I'm answering a question. I'm almost done. So in hindsight, we're not going to rely on hindsight and be judged by one person and carried by 6. There's this decision we have to make, split-second moments. So if I'm reaching back, I can get a knife or secondary firearm. We have to allow to conflate for a reactionary gap. So in law enforcement, we have a reactionary gap that we have to
wait, but Marte, hold on.
Close the gap.
I agree with the reactionary gap. I agree with that. Wouldn't they have to have evidence of the fact that there would be a secondary gun before they can just
it's possible.
or say Tom, there's a possibility? Hold on, Pisco. Hold on.
Okay, he's asking a question. Pisco, shut up.
it's also possible that there was a tank down the road that was getting ready to roll up and shoot them with like big artillery, and maybe they needed to they could have pulled out a grenade and throw a grenade down the road and blow up a bunch of people because of that possibility. So hold on. So I'm asking you to separate those two things of like a possibility of something being happening or a likelihood of it.
I can answer this. So if I'm effecting an arrest on somebody and they reach for their pocket, would I have to think if it's possible if they have a knife or a gun or RPG, do I wait for this to happen or do I act on, maybe a what if? We have to do this, right? Is there probable cause?
These guys are psychos. We need to abolish ICE.
We really need to abolish ICE. Somebody who's reaching for their pocket.
We need to abolish all of it.
You guys are so
These are the people that
take the butt plug out of your asses and let them talk.
So Tom,
okay, so hold on, wait, hold on, but you're not answering my question. Hold on, I'm not asking about a possibility. I'm asking about a likelihood. Like, what evidence is there of a secondary gun? You agree they would have to have evidence of that? Yes.
So I'll even address this right now. So in order to have a secondary gun, you have to meet the qualifier of having an initial first gun, right?
No. Like, wait, are you saying that because he has a first gun,
in order
there's
to have a secondary gun, you have to have an initial
gun?
First gun, right?
Well, yes, in order to be a second,
you have to have a primary gun to have a secondary,
necessarily, right? Yeah, of course.
So if he has a primary gun, would it be safe to assume that he has a secondary weapon if he's reaching in the back?
What is there evidence of people like often carrying more than one weapon if they have one gun that they're more likely to have a second gun?
He had 2 magazines. It could have been a knife. It could have been a gun.
Sure, but I'm sorry. I'm asking for evidence that there is a secondary gun, not just that there could be, but that there was one. We don't need
evidence of a second gun if he's reaching back. If his actions are showing that he's reaching back for some unknown thing that we don't know, do we wait to find out if he's going to present something or do we act then?
Okay, so Pisco, do you agree that there is a likelihood of a secondary gun in this situation if there is a primary
just on the basis
gun?
that it could exist, right? So the problem with all of this, and I think you've noticed it, Tom, and it's problem not just, I would be honest with you, it's not just you guys, it's other conversations I had, is people playing this weasel language of couldn't it be the case? Couldn't it be the case that it's a gun? Couldn't it be the case he has a knife? Couldn't it be the case that this is and you're playing on possibility. But of course, our test with respect to use of deadly force doesn't turn on mere possibility. That would be insane. That would be an insane standard that merely because something is possible, it's justified to use deadly force. And as a relevant put it that was never answered, that would justify any given encounter with the police. Well, it's possible when you're going out for your wallet that you're getting a gun. So, and even when in the given context, which all of these use of force cases are context laden, there's no basis for the officer to believe affirmatively that there's a second gun. What if he saw a second gun? Okay, now you start to go there. What if there's a furtive gesture and it really is suggestive he said something, or it seems like going to gun, but they can't point to that furtive gesture before the gun happened, before the shots happen. They can't point to that. There's no evidence of him reaching for the gun at all. And so because there isn't affirmative evidence to believe that there's a second gun, they have to cling to possibility and watch every time they use the word possible, couldn't it be the case? Is it logically possible? These are all weasel words to try to force you to emotionally give up your rights to the bootlicking thugs of ICE and CBP.
Okay, so just yes or no. Do you think there was a likelihood of there being a second gun? Was there evidence that there was a likelihood of a second gun? No. Okay, so
no.
Jake, do you think that there was a likelihood of a second gun being there?
As far as the likelihood goes to show, we do notice that. As far as the gun thing, I have no idea, but we do know that he did have an extra magazine, possibly, etc., to shoot up more of the bullets. I don't know if he had a secondary gun. Obviously, we know ahead of time, but in the moment, we don't know those situations. Not only that, he was 2 feet away with these officers. So even if it wasn't a gun, he could have had a multiple weapons, whether it be a knife or something like that.
Could have, yes,
so
he definitely could have.
So is there? So hold on. Is there like what I'm asking is, do you think that there was evidence that like the officers had?
No, there's no evidence. There was no evidence that he had a gun specifically. Yeah, I would say there's no evidence. However, the probability.
So well, hold on. I'm trying to get to another question. So. Do you think that there was evidence that he had like a weapon or a gun or something like that from the officer's position? You're saying no?
Well, no, not from the offer's positions, because I'm not an officer. I wasn't there. I wasn't there at all.
Well, however, no, that's what we're here to discuss, though. Like what we're from the videos, from what you've seen, yes, from the officer's perspective, do you think that there was evidence?
From what I've seen, from what I've seen, the officers could necessarily believe that maybe he had an extra weapon, especially when people that are armed going to protest or a bar, usually they have a knife or a pocket knife and stuff like that.
Okay, and so
you
that's
don't know.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get to. Is so okay, so they don't know. So do you think there was evidence of there being like a second weapon or something like that in the moment?
I already answered that. As far as evidence wise, there's no evidence on that. We don't know of the case until it goes to court, etc. We don't know that. However, I would say on a probability case, especially if I was an officer, the likelihood of, if you have a gun, more than likely you probably have a pocket knife or something of this nature that you could possibly hurt somebody with, right?
Okay, so if we don't know that they had any evidence, what reason do you have to believe that this could have been a justified shooting from the officer's perspective? Like, what reasonable fear would he have had?
Well, because again, I actually have slow motion video capture of especially when the first shot was shot, we saw Alex going up. So I'm thinking, and maybe Pisco disagrees with me because I'd like to know y'all's takes here, is that there's particular claims out there that the gun that was fired accidentally, right? Then everybody calls out gun, etc. We don't know on that, but we did see Alex go up. He didn't get shot or nothing like that. In the slow-mo, on the second shot, it looked like he was going down. I don't know the specific details on that. I'm just judging it off of the videos here. Right?
Okay, if there's no objections, do you guys mind if I play the video again real quick? Anybody?
The whole video?
Okay. No, just the part for the first shot.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
go for it. And also, I would like a statement after.
Yes, I was coming right back to you. Yes.
All right, I love you.
Okay. So this right here is the initial video. Let me. Okay, so right here, we can see this officer pulls out his gun. This officer is about to grab the gun and turn and walk away as he's pulling his gun. It seems, I'll just narrate for a second, just from my perspective. It seems as though he is looking right at where the officer is pulling the gun out. It's hard to think that he doesn't see it, but I suppose there is a possibility that this other officer is obstructing his view. So he pulls his gun, and then you can hear right when he fires, his arm goes back, and then he moves the other people. This officer's gone with the gun, and then he continues firing. I believe all shots were fired by him, except for one bullet was fired by one other officer. And then we can see this again here. This is the officer right here. He pulls his weapon there. Officer's running there. And then first shot is when that
Tom,
goes off.
I tagged you on another video that does a slow-mo.
Tag me on
zoom in
Twitter.
It's on Twitter. You can go to your notifications. I hope you get that notification here. But it should be there. Yeah, Jake Varr right there. Yeah. And you could it starts at 25 seconds on the slow-mo, if you can do that. But my claim earlier is that you hear the first shot and he was getting up at the time. Hold on. It should play it in slow-mo right here.
Yes, after the first shot, he starts to stand up.
And then the second shot, listen in. Just slow-mo, just to get every clarification. That's the first shot. They're all like, what the fuck? He's getting up.
He's getting up.
Yeah, he's getting up. And the second shot, listen. Second shot, he goes down. So that's why, like, a lot of people are talking about how the first shot was was and they you can look it up that the gun that he had.
Just to be clear, the hand that does go back to his butt where it seems as though he was shot the first time, he is holding a phone in that hand when he reaches back there, and his hand is like down on the butt, like on his thigh below his butt, not up where his like a holster was. So do you think that like he was reaching, they could have thought he was reaching for a pocket or something? Like where would he be reaching for the gun here?
Well, as far there's other angles where he does reach out to the holster. Now, as far as your claim here is that what you were saying, that your claim anyways, that he has a phone. I don't see the phone there, but if that's the case, that's fine.
That black square in his hand
could be a phone. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just
what
for the sake of
if
argument,
not a phone.
Let's say I don't know, bro. Let's take for the argument that it's a phone. It could be anything. I don't know, and you don't know either, bro. So let's just claim that it's a phone.
I don't want to play the full thing, but the only reason I'm claiming it's a phone is because we do see from the full video that he is holding it in that right hand when he starts off, and then you can see him the whole time with it in that right hand. So that's the only reason.
That's reasonable. That's a reasonable claim. That's a reasonable claim, and I get you there. But it could be anything, but reasonably could be a phone. I would agree with you there.
Where is he reaching for a possible weapon if his hand is occupied?
Yeah, so there's another clip there, and there's actual still frame where he's reaching towards the holster after the gun was taken out.
It is.
You can make a reasonable claim that he didn't know that the gun
with
gun
the
was
hand
removed.
that the phone is in.
No, oh my God, no. His hand didn't have the phone when he was reaching.
When?
Have you seen the footage?
We just watched it together.
No, you stupid fuck. The footage of the up close where he was reaching towards the holster. Have you seen that one?
I've seen all of the footage. What are you referring to?
He's talking about the one. He's talking about the footage that was taken.
You made a claim that
Hold on. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the footage that was recorded from inside of the restaurant, where the guys are talking, saying like, this is out of control, blah blah blah, and then it starts shooting. But it again, you can see from that angle that that his hand goes below his butt. From the other angle, the second his hand comes around, somebody moves in front of the frame, and you can't see where his hand goes from inside the restaurant. So that is the only one that you can see where his hand is.
That's not evidence that he's reaching. If you can't can't see something, that is not evidence that you're seeing something.
So Tom, in the past, we've had people pull out toy guns and get shot, and they were able to justify their actions, even though it wasn't a real gun. This has happened in the past. The question is, could the officer articulate and justify why he may have thought this was a gun or a secondary, I would say a firearm, not the primary, because the primary was taken off.
Right,
could he be able to articulate that this was a good shot because he believed that this was a secondary firearm? That's what we really need to answer here.
The test isn't can you articulate. I can articulate that my dick is 10 feet long. The test isn't articulation. The test is objective reasonability. That's why all you guys are talking about. Could it be a gun? Could it be a phone? Could it be? It's all sophistry.
You're just trying to talk about possibilities.
Can I also get my response that I never got?
That doesn't answer my question.
You didn't even respond to me. Do you agree? Do you agree that he was getting up prior before the first shot? Can you agree with that, at least based off the footage?
So this is just apparently you didn't see. This is the hold on, I'm showing it right now. This is it on screen right here. This is the part where as he is sitting up, you can see his right arm here starts to come back behind him, and you can see it here. As I said, something immediately obstructs, but it does seem as though his hand is like lower than where his holster would be, which is up here.
Can you?
Wait, do it again. So where is the gun? That he's reaching for something. I don't see him reaching.
Yeah, you can see his hand here, and it is
right
low.
hand.
I'm sorry. Hold on. He had something in his hand.
Yes. Wait. To be clear, is this? Can you push play? Can you push play? Does this have audio?
Yes.
Okay. Push play for me.
Put slow too.
Yeah, I'm trying to confirm because this looks like this is the hand with the phone.
It is.
Okay, so it was. Yeah, so it was the hand with the phone. So it was an occupied hand. Right hand. So and after he was disarmed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, no. So it's the same. It's literally the same head with the phone in it after he's disarmed.
Total L.
Okay. So the question isn't whether or not
it doesn't
you can
show any of
articulate
that, bro.
something. And what we just saw there isn't evidence of a furtive movement. You have to be a total lying motherfucker.
No.
Yeah. So what is the furtive movement there?
So if you saw something black in his hand and he was reaching back, and then somebody yells "gun, gun, gun," we're going to go off of something that's instinctive in law enforcement. We're going to make an assumption, right?
So first
it
of all,
would be safe to say we can articulate why we had to make a shot.
So first of all, you can't play. You can have your cake and eat it too. You're playing in this whole action.
You, Pisco.
Let me explain the case. You're doing this whole thing. Well, we can't get down to the millisecond, the microsecond, whatever. He makes a decision to fire before he fires, correct?
So if you notice there,
is that the case? Can you answer a single question?
Discharges all the time. Let's talk about this real quick.
Wait, you just changed it. Marte, hold on, wait. Hold on, Marte, hold on, Pisco. Hold on. He tried to give like a yes or no to the question and then give an explanation, because sometimes you're only giving explanations and it's hard to tell what the answer is at the end. So answer his question, try to with a yes or no at the beginning and then give the explanation.
Did he make the decision to pull the trigger before he shot?
Wait, say that again.
Did he make the decision to shoot the gun before he shot the gun?
No, bro.
That's unfalsifiable.
These questions are so stupid.
What do you mean it's unfalsifiable? Are you saying it's? I'm asking you to just say yes to an obvious thing.
Are you telling me that I have to understand what was going on in his mind?
No.
I'm asking you. Why
He's trying to go down a train of logic real quick. In order for him to shoot the gun, he would have to make the decision to pull the trigger.
He would have to make the decision. So that's fine. Yes, he made a decision.
Right?
But
yeah.
Okay.
So
still, if the decision was made at a time before this alleged furtive movement, which you're tracking as like almost essentially at the same time as the first shot, if that, we can't even tell really based on this video, then it's not a basis for him to shoot something that happens after his decision to shoot. How that's linear time, my friend.
Well,
no,
Pisco, in other in other situations, Pisco, if somebody, let's say officers are fighting with somebody and they reach for their pocket or they reach for like their side or something like that, isn't it common for officers to assume that they are reaching for a gun and then automatically start shooting in a lot of these scenarios?
I don't have wait. So it depends on the situation. Not every time that you do a furtive gesture does it happen. I'm A, denying that there was a furtive gesture, and B, on the timing of the alleged furtive gesture, which they're alleging, I don't have any basis to believe he actually did it, but even assuming it, the decision to fire happened probably before, given the time of when the shot occurred and when the alleged furtive gesture, which I don't think ever happened.
So hold on. So Marte, hold on, wait, Marte, hold on, Marte. So in the video that we just went over, the officer does reach for his gun. He pulls it out of the holster. He shoots him once, and then that's when Pretti reaches behind him. So why would the reach behind him be related to the shooting if he's already been if he already pulled the gun from the holster, pointed it at him?
Tom understands linear time. Tom is fair. He understands linear time.
Thank you, Pisco. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yes, why would that be related to the shooting?
Well, the same way are you asking? Oh, you're asking.
Either one of you. Yeah, you were.
I'm just saying, like the same way that if you get pickpocketed in your pants or etc., you have pickpocketers. Normally, you don't know if like your wallet's outside of your pants or etc. Right? Like there's people that pickpocket. There's no evidence claiming that he would even have felt the gun come out of the holster in the first place. So that's what I would assume why he reached out. Anyways, Martin, go ahead.
It wasn't even a response.
The officer who's drawing
has accidental discharges plenty of time. So we're missing this whole point that there was an accidental discharge. So when that accidental discharge,
we can address that right now.
That's what's going to happen.
We can address that in 2 seconds. We can address. We can address that in 2 seconds.
You're not even listening to anything. You're just talking over me.
Yes. No. You just said we have to address the issue of accidental discharge. That's a pivot. Because now we're talking. We're first talking about the
pivot. You're overlooking this, Pisco.
It is a pivot.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Marte, are you making? Hold on, Marte. Are you making the claim that it could have been a possible accidental discharge from the off? Hold on, Marte. Hold on. Everybody stop. Are you saying that it could have been a possible discharge from the officer who shot him, or are you talking about the accidental discharge from the SIG as the officer runs away with Pretty's gun?
The accidental discharge from the SIG as the officer runs away with Pretty's gun. That's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Do you think that
I do think that is like
happened?
disproven. Like I do believe that is like
There's
So hold on.
reasons
This
to doubt
man
it.
has been well known and documented to have accidental
I
discharges.
agree. I
It's
agree.
true.
I agree. I agree.
No,
Hold on.
wait.
Hold on.
Wait,
Hold on.
okay.
Hold on.
No,
Hold
no,
on.
let's
Hold on.
Tom.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
I wanna let you
Stop. Hold on.
How about you engage with the
Really,
internet?
I'm trying to hold on. So I agree that it could think again. We can say a lot of things
Yes, it
could have
yes.
happened, but
So-
evidence as to whether or not it did happen is the difference.
That's
Now,
true. We
I
have
want you
evidence.
to, real quick. I want
just showed you
I want
the
you to
evidence
give
that
your
it could have
answer.
happened.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
the evidence that it did happen
Hold
is
on.
it could
Hold
have.
on. Pisco. I understand that
Your
it could have
evidence is
happened.
my
I
feelings,
want
but
you to
okay.
give your answer, and then I'm going to go to irrelevant because he didn't get to finish his earlier. So give your answer, and then we're going to irrelevant.
Okay, my answer is when you look at the gun, his finger was off the trigger and it went off.
It didn't go up.
They
The
zoomed in
SIG
on the
did not go
gun.
up.
She didn't have
My
a finger on
argument
the
is the
trigger.
gun went off for the evidence the gun went off.
Wait,
like,
hold on.
okay,
Gun went
that's
I'm Marte.
They literally
I'm sorry.
zoomed in on the guy's hand and his finger was on the trigger and it went off. It looks like an accidental
Marte.
discharge. We can demonstrate this.
Marte, I think you might have gotten up when we went over this earlier, but we did all agree that it didn't go off and that we can watch the officer who pulls the gun from the holster and points it. We can hear as soon as the first fire goes off, his arm jerks back. You can see the
You're
pushback
gonna
on
have
his
to
arm.
recoil
On
on
the
it.
Just
Hold
plays
on,
you the
you
full
don't
slow
trigger.
mo footage.
His
What are you
hand
talking
just
about?
did
Hold on,
that,
hold on,
Tom. His
hold
hand
on,
just
Just
did
plays
that.
you the full
Hold on,
slow mo
hold on.
footage, Tom. That
on
didn't.
the
Yeah,
yes,
that's
it
true.
did. Wait, hold on. I don't want to pull it up again.
Yeah, let's
Okay, I
see if
thought
his
we all
hand
agreed that
jerks
it did
oil
happen.
on the
accident.
first
Can
shot.
I please?
Okay.
Can
It
I?
didn't
Can I
happen.
please?
I,
Can I please do my thing?
If yeah,
Purdy
go
didn't
ahead.
even
Irrelevant.
fucking react to the first shot.
Okay, all right.
I
Okay, so
just X out of
that
all
was
of it. So
my yeah.
go
Okay,
ahead.
so the problem is these two are trying to argue could have, potential.
No.
Here's the problem.
never said
So
could have.
can you mute this guy? Can you mute this guy, please? Because
Yeah,
you muted
go
everybody
ahead.
else when they were doing their.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Go
So
ahead.
Yeah, you do the same thing, but
that's the
okay.
argument. Is they're like could have, and that's all they're working in this like potential thing. Here's the problem. He had one gun. Well, he could have had two. Well, he had two guns. He could have had three. Well, he had three guns. He could have had five. He could have had 15. He could have had 30. So, and listen to what they also said. Because he had one gun, if he reaches anywhere on his body, he could be reaching for another gun. What does this mean? If you carry a firearm and you interact with law enforcement in any way, do not move. You need to like get petrified because if you move at all, you're reaching for something and that therefore allows for lethal intent. That's the problem. They're making the argument because you have a weapon on you, you could have another weapon. So therefore any movement is sign of lethal intent. That is the argument that they're making because they have not provided
Oh my
any
God.
evidence whatsoever for another
We're not
weapon.
making that claim, bro.
So stop. I'm almost
was
done.
for the
So the
claim.
argument, stop. Before, so because they have no evidence that he had another weapon
Arguing
on him.
with the straw
So their
man.
argument is because he could have had another weapon on him, therefore they're allowed to shoot him. So you have a gun.
That was never the claim.
That means that they're just allowed to shoot you if you move because you could be reaching
Never
for another
claimed
a firearm.
Okay, Jake, go ahead.
Never claimed
What
that.
was the claim?
That is
So what
exactly.
was-
exactly.
Well, that
Yeah,
was
we're
the
not-
claim from
we're-
Marte. You didn't. You may not have said that. Marte did say that if he has one gun, that this is evidence that he may have a second gun. You
No,
did not.
I said
agree
it's
with
more
that.
likely
probability.
that he could have a second.
Probabilities,
Correct.
yeah.
And that
In virtue of
therefore,
what?
if he's
In virtue of
reaching,
what?
So
Do you do a
so here's
statistical
the
analysis
problem
on
with the
gun?
relevance argument.
If you have one, you're
Irrelevant
more
is
likely to have
saying if
another?
you reach anywhere. Irrelevant is saying if you reach anywhere. In law enforcement, we're taught that there are distinct places if people reach. We would tell them not to reach for their pocket or their holster area. The same thing if we look at glove compartments. Now, if you're reaching the top of your head, we're not going to shoot you. If you're reaching for your chest, we're not going to shoot you.
What if you're like Die
That's
Hard?
not
What
gonna
if you're
happen,
It
but
could
in our
happen.
experience,
You could
if
have a
reach
gun
for your
there.
pocket
Dude,
or your
that's
You gotta have a
holster
gun
area,
there.
that's
You gotta have a
one
gun
of the
there.
flags
In the
belongs,
back
and
of your
we're gonna
head, you
get
can pull it out of your
apprehension
back of your head, you fucking idiot.
You're not understanding Relly's
Pisco, you
argument.
haven't heard
Relly's
the damn
argument-
thing I said, have you?
Oh my God,
No,
this
no,
guy's
I
just
did
making
hear
up
it.
shit.
You're saying- no, so
Okay, hold on.
I'm going to
Hold
tell
on.
you
Let
about
Pisco respond.
So what you just said was, well, that's ridiculous, Relly. We don't just say anywhere on your body that you can shoot. There are specific places where we think it's more likely for there to be maybe a second gun or for you
Probability.
to do a furtive gesture. Right. But what Relly is dealing with is your argument. Your argument is, well, merely because it could be the case that a gun could be stashed there, or that you might not like that it's your argument. You might be in denial
It is.
that it's your argument. Everyone can hear when you use those terms, and everyone can hear that you have no basis to believe that there's a second gun, other than the fact that you say, well, logically, if he has a second gun, wouldn't he initially have to have a first gun? You said that. Unironically,
Yeah,
and in front of an audience of hundreds of people, you said that. No, you said, wouldn't he need to have a second? Wouldn't he need to have a first gun to have a second gun? That's what you said. You said that as though that were anything, right? As though that were fucking anything. So what Relly is trying to suggest to you is that can't be the test. That cannot be the test, because if that were the test, not only would it chill Second Amendment rights everywhere, correct, and you guys would totally reject it, but also it makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense to be this much of a bootlicker that you would accept that just not being petrified constitutes any kind of like reasonable threat to the officer sufficient for deadly force.
Pisco, let me ask you this.
I need Marte to respond to that, because he is saying that wasn't his argument, but that was what I understood your argument to be as well. Is if he had a first gun, makes it more likely that he has a second gun.
So we would have probable cause to believe that if we initially took a firearm off of him and then he's reaching again, there would be a higher probability and a good assumption, a good faith assumption to assume that he's reaching for something else, not necessarily like the primary because that was taken away. And also understand that this also agrees with my argument saying that there was a miscommunication. If that wasn't communicated and then somebody says gun, they're probably thinking there's a secondary possibly. Would you not agree that there's an assumption that somebody would make on good faith out of the protection for officers' lives to say that there's a secondary
firearm? Not a reasonable assumption, which is the test about objective reasonability.
Let me ask you, but not Pisco.
No, well, hold on. He asked a question. Not only is there not a reasonable assumption, any reasonable assumption you would argue for is not sufficient to kill him. Let's make that clear.
That is reasonable to use the same force that he was going to use the beginning, pulling out another gun.
You have no evidence for it? You have no evidence
of that.
You don't have any evidence. No, just to be clear, what is the evidence he had a second weapon? What is the evidence of a secondary weapon?
Is there? Wait, hold on. He took one gun off of him that could have been the primary.
The evidence of a secondary weapon.
He's not claiming that he had multiple weapons. He's claiming that there's a possibility.
Is there no evidence of a secondary weapon?
Hold on. Let me ask you this. He's not making. Hold on. No. Jake. He is just to be clear. They're from my understanding, they're not. You're arguing that there is a likelihood. There is a higher likelihood, a higher probability of a secondary gun being there because the first gun was there, and so
not necessarily a gun, Tom. This could have been
a weapon, even a weapon that they're like. I would want like. I don't even know where that comes from. Like I'm trying to find a way to be charitable to this, but I almost would want like even like polling that says that people who carry guns are like carrying two guns at
multiple
like
guns.
60-70% rate or something like that.
By the way.
Yes, but hold on. I'm saying that like they would have to be carrying them at like a 60-70% rate in order for this to be the case, because the just to say that because there was one gun, now they're able to assume the second gun and then and then now use lethal force to stop him from getting that gun that they haven't seen. Like that, there would have to be like really, really high like percentages of this. And I
Tom, that's not necessarily true. I've been in Fight for Lives before where there was somebody who grabbed an officer's gun already on his waist and holster. This could have been the case to where he grabbed another officer's gun.
It could have been. Yes, it could have been.
Make a decision.
It definitely could have been.
And he could have had a bazooka in his pocket. He could have had an IED. He could have had a nuclear device.
Can I just ask my question after this?
Hold on. No, because I want to respond to this. I want to respond to this because he didn't.
As well, but you're not letting me. Can I respond?
No, because I'm talking.
Okay, so irrelevant. Hold on.
Well, you've been yapping.
He hasn't answered.
Irrelevant was irrelevant was the one. Okay, Irrelevant was the one who asked the question. So go ahead and follow up.
Okay, so just to be clear, all right. Are you saying that because he could be reaching for another weapon that you have no evidence for, right? Just because he could be reaching for a weapon that justifies the shoot?
Real quick, Tom, you're allowing a double team right now. Yes. Can I get involved here after this?
Yes, no, I'm asking him directly. Okay, wait. I'm sorry. Can I just address what he just said?
Pisco's been interrupting me. I can't even fucking get a word in.
Stop.
You guys have been...
hold on. Pisco's on mute. Hold on, Peace goes on mute. The like it has been like Irrelevant asked the question. Marte answered the question. Peace go asked another one. Marte answered it. Now, Irrelevant's following up, but I will come to you in a minute, Jake.
I've literally been in situations where I had to make a split-second decision, and I couldn't wait for the person to present the firearm or whatever it was they're going to do, and I made split-second decisions. In the line of duty, I've done this.
Okay, so he just said it is justified to shoot. He said it's justified to shoot and kill you because you could have another weapon with no evidence. Just to be clear, he just admitted that. I said no evidence, could have another weapon. He said yes. That is insane. That is there is no evidence he has another weapon whatsoever, and that because he could have one, that's enough to shoot him. That's insane.
Okay, so this is stupid. This is fucking retarded.
Okay, hold on, Marte. Let Jake.
Because they wait upon presentation of a weapon or something like that. There's casualties that happen. There's officers that don't come home to their family because they're like,
on, Marte.
No, we're just gonna wait to see if a gun is present or not, and they die.
I think your statements stand on their own. I'll let Jake take over. That's one of the most retarded things I've ever heard in my life. You need a guardian
right now. I've been waiting very patiently right now. So again, going back to their assumption here is like, oh well, he had a weapon, so therefore, like, what's your assumption that he might have another one? Let me ask you this, Irrelevant, because you've been yapping too much right now. Let's say you were a law enforcement, right? You were in the law. You have a case where there's an individual that had a gun. He pulls out the gun, right? Maybe you fire at him, and the case is that it never fucking hit him, etc. He abandons the gun.
You're asking if I'm in a firefight?
Hypothetical. I'm not done.
Hold on.
Asking. He's asking about. He's asking about.
Finish, you fucking idiot. Please shut the fuck up and let me finish.
Let him finish.
You cocksucker.
Ask clarifying questions. Can I not, Tom?
Bro, afterwards, please. Afterwards.
Okay.
After I finish with the
hypothetical,
you can give me some clarifying questions. You dumb fuck. So really quick. So let's say you're it's one-on-one with an individual. This individual pulls out a gun. You pull out your gun, he abandons the gun later, okay? And then you see him reach in his coat or etc. somewhere. Could be reaching for anything at that point. Do you still wait there and say, you know what? The odds are he doesn't have another fucking gun, so I'm not going to shoot at him before he pulls out whatever he's pulling out of his coat. Would you do that, Irrelevant?
Okay, so number one is the first pullout. Is he brandishing the weapon at me?
Yes.
Okay, so he has pointed the weapon at me in a deadly manner, and then he throws it away. And then what?
Yeah,
he's running away from me? Is his back
he threw it away, right?
Let's do that.
Is so the point to me? He's running away from me?
Whatever scenario you want, he brandishes the weapon.
This guy has his back. Sorry, you said whatever scenario you want. So I'm saying his back is to me. I see him possibly reaching. I am going to say, put your hands in the air while pointing a weapon at him.
I didn't say his back was turned to you. Engage
you
with the
said
hypothetical,
whatever scenario
please.
you want. Okay, so then engage in this whatever scenario, or actually answer my question. Look, is his back to me or not?
It's not. Because obviously you can't see that he's fucking doing anything in his coat if his back's to you, fucking idiot.
Yes,
so if you see him, if you see him go into his coat after he abandoned the original weapon, do you shoot at him or not? Answer the question.
No, I'm going to point my gun at him and say hands in the air. Hands in, yes. Yes, this is what cops do all the time. Yes.
They don't. What are you talking about? You fucking idiot.
It literally is.
You know what a reactionary gap is?
Yes, I understand what a reactionary gap is.
No,
yes,
you do not.
Absolutely. And also to hold on, just to be clear, in the analogy that you gave me, it's entirely divorced from the situation that we're talking about. In the situation we're talking about, I'm giving the reason why. Shut up, you animal. Hey, shut up, you animal. Go back to smoking your cigarette. Shut up. Hey, shut up. Okay, so it's totally divorced, and here's the reason why. The hand that was reaching inside of the coat is a hand reaching behind him, clearly and plainly visible to the officer with a phone inside of it. So this idea that he's like digging inside of a coat is completely disanalogous, okay? It's not at all the same.
He's already brandishing the hypothetical.
Yes, correct. He has showed deadly intent with brandishing a firearm.
Okay.
So there is already those elements.
How the law works.
Okay,
when it comes to reactions, they're not saying just because you had a weapon prior before that you reaching out for another fucking weapon potentially that they're just gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna have you fucking have your hands up and don't shoot. That's not how it works. If they're attempting to go into another weapon, he has all the right to shoot him again. All right.
Okay,
it doesn't
so
matter.
okay, so if you said the
You would
analogy,
agree with
just
that,
to be
right?
clear,
You would
no,
agree
just to
with
be
that,
clear,
right?
no, because
You
your
wouldn't?
analogy is trash.
Okay,
I'm going to respond to what you're saying.
Okay,
So,
because I don't think you understand my analogy.
So
but
Tom,
go
you
ahead.
remember when he said the analogy is 1-to-1, correct? You remember he said the analogy was fitting, correct? Yeah. Okay.
No,
so
I never said
let
that.
him-
Fitting-
Yes, Tom, you agree. He said
I
that.
said
Wait, Tom
he
agrees with
abandons
that.
the
You
original
said
weapon.
the analogy was 1-to-1.
Hold on, wait. Hold on.
You
I
said
never
you
said
said
one to
no,
one.
you're
Never
not.
use
You're
those
not.
words, you fucking idiot.
Okay,
Never use those
hold on,
words.
Okay,
hold
cool.
on,
So
wait,
then
wait.
why bring up?
I just be clear. I don't know if I heard him say that, so I want to be clear.
I never said
was-
1-to-1.
Sorry, I
never.
gave
Yeah,
a-
sure.
Because
Yeah, because you're lying.
I said this
You're-
is
yeah.
no. I said that this was disanalogous, and you said no, it's not disanalogous because it is disanalogous.
Oh, but you
When
1-to-1.
did-
You never. I never said that.
Okay, so is it analogous or disanalogous?
I don't know specifically. I don't
Oh
even know
my
those
God,
terms.
why bring up something you don't know
monkey
that's
ass just
analogous?
came up
Who
with a
cares?
random fucking analogy with
Oh
no
my
correlation
God.
to what we're talking about?
Bro,
Is that what I
that's
just heard?
irrelevant here. How about you just fucking answer my question?
The whole point is that you make an analogy that is related to the thing that we're talking about. That is the whole point.
How is it
great,
related?
great,
How is it
great.
related?
And I'm using it's not a question. It's a hypothetical. You stupid
Yeah,
fuck.
how's it
The
related?
Yeah,
hypothetical
and
is meant to test your
hypotheticals are
logic.
meant to.
Hold on.
Yeah,
No, to
in
test your logic.
relation
To test
to
your logic.
something else.
No.
In relation
How
Not
to
to
test
necessarily.
something
the
else.
No, not necessarily. In this
Okay.
case, it is
All right,
related.
hold on.
You're
All
making
right,
the claim that
hold on.
because he had a
Hold
gun,
on,
therefore.
hold on. Okay, so obviously the analogy was meant to analogize whether or not somebody is reaching for something, whether or not you can pull a gun. That was where it was supposed to analogize. The Jake, your
Whether or not you could pull a gun?
Like
What's the
yes,
question?
yes. He's
So is the
sorry.
question-
Whether or not you could shoot or whether or not you should shoot. He was asking irrelevant whether or not he would shoot in this scenario. So Jake, if this is your analogy and he's saying that you should probably put your hands up first, that he would need to actually see a gun, because even like in a traffic stop, like if somebody's being like rowdy with the officer, they're being threatening, things like that, if they reach into their glove compartment, the officer is normally going to pull a gun, but they won't normally just immediately start shooting. Correct. Because they reached into the glove compartment. He's saying I would wait for the hand to come out of the glove compartment to see if there's a weapon first. In this case,
I want to answer Jake's. I want to answer Jake's episode.
Let me answer the question.
What Jake reply, and then we're gonna go to Pisco.
Yeah. So this is a good analogy here because it relates to my hypothetical with I gave with Irrelevant over here. Irrelevant saying like, oh no, I wouldn't fucking shoot the guy or attempt to shoot him. I would say hands up, don't shoot, right? And this guy attempts to pull out whatever it is. Could be a wallet, could be a weapon. There's a good example. I believe it was the Jacob Blake situation where he was having issues with I think his baby mama or some shit like that. He brandished, I believe, a knife at first. And then he was disarmed. He reached into the car afterwards and they lit him up. Okay. So regardless of whatever the weapon was, the fact is that he's still reaching. They don't know what the case is. Could be a gun, could be anything. Regardless of the situation, that's not how cops think. Irrelevant's a fucking moron to say because he brandished a gun and then he abandoned it.
So in the Jacob Blake situation, if I remember correctly, the
dude, shut the fuck
they would
up.
obviously change the analogy. No, it's totally disanalogous. No, it's totally disanalogous.
Bro, whether the case was or
analogies.
Okay, fine. Then let me do a hypothetical where somebody fucking brandished a knife and then reached into the car.
Brandish? When did Alex Pretti brandish?
Bro, how about you answer my
because he never brandished.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish, bro.
We're gonna go to Pisco.
Let me finish.
What was the point in the Jacob Blake scenario?
Yeah. So me or Pisco? Who are you?
Jake. What was the point in the Jacob Blake scenario?
Yeah. So what I was making the point on is that Irrelevance using the case that he would give them commands or some stupid shit like that. That's not how officers work. That's not how officers work in any scenario. They usually, whatever the case is, regardless if they brandish a weapon or not, and they reach for something in their pocket, they are still 100% allowed to shoot because they don't know if they're reaching for another gun or a knife or whatever the case is. They don't know that. So they do it within the moment of that time. That's still legal. Okay. This fucking idiot is saying that I just wouldn't do it because I just know the future or some bullshit like that. He's a fucking moron. Go ahead.
Okay, so Pisco, go ahead, and then we are gonna give a couple more minutes, but we'll give a couple more minutes before we wrap up. But Pisco, go ahead and respond.
So the question isn't what officers do. This is what officers do because whatever they're teaching these CPP officers is fucked up. All right. So it doesn't. The test isn't is it what officers do? The test is it objectively reasonable? And what you're doing is slimy as fuck. Number one, you are not using a fact pattern that's analogous at all to the actual situation that occurred, and I can tell you why. It's also not analogous to the Jacob Blake situation, which is why Irrelevant is objecting to both of those things. So in the case that you presented, the first hypothetical you presented,
I'm just testing logic, bro. That's all I'm doing.
No, I know, but you're failing at that.
So then why,
He brandished. He takes out a gun in full view of the cop, unlike a situation where
I'm not even talking about that. He made the claim of two weapons.
That was
That's what the topic was. You're obfuscating to something that I wasn't even talking about. I'm talking about his logic.
His own hypothetical because he knows it's true.
Bro, my hypothetical was testing your logic, you moron.
Wait, interrupting him.
Okay,
go ahead.
So are you responding to the hypothetical, or are you bringing back up the actual scenario again?
I'm responding to the hypothetical.
Scenario.
So he's responding to the hypothetical. Okay.
What our interlocutors, unlike them, I'm trying to address everything they're saying, and they're
okay. So go ahead and respond to the hypothetical.
Okay.
So in the first hypothetical. Okay. Great.
He's
responding to the hypothetical now. Go ahead.
Oh, do you want me just not to respond to it?
No, just respond. They're muted. Go ahead and respond to it. They're muted. Go ahead and respond to it, please.
Your hypothetical in the first instance involves someone throwing their gun to the side. And so when Irrelevant tells you, wow, in that situation, if he's going for something in the coat, the first thing I would do in response to that is issue a lawful order. It has to do because we tend to think, right? Someone who throws their gun to the side is showing relinquishing power, Now, that's not to say that in that circumstance, for certain they're not going to reach for a second gun. But that situation is distinguishable from Jacob Blake in that it's in full view of the officer. The gun is already trained. You can see where he's pulling. You have him, and you have the ability in this moment to give a lawful order and command. So it has to do with the ability of the officer in that context. And it has to do after someone has sort of consciously relinquished the gun already. They've already now it could be a subterfuge, and that's why Irrelevant said that he would issue a command first before he would take the shot. But even if you don't agree with him, that's not on all fours with Jacob Blake, which is a completely different fact pattern. And of course, it's not on all fours with the case we have here, where you never have a brandishing, right? You have no indicia of a furtive movement, where to the extent that even if there was some furtive movement, as it is in your hypothetical, it happens after the first shot, as Tom just put, so linear times in your way. So on all fours, your hypothetical has not shown any inconsistency in Irrelevant's logic. Different facts in that case, different facts than Jacob Blake, and different facts than we have in our case.
So let me address this real quick. You're conflating a lot of things and you're messing up the timeline as well, too. So you're also doing a horrible hatchet job of this. I'll even point this out. If I pull somebody over, and here's the thing, though, I'll even agree he never brandished a weapon, right? You don't need to brandish a weapon. If we take this off, right, that's happened. He's shown evidence of having a gun. So if he's reaching again for his pocket, I'm not going to wait as an officer to say, well, I didn't know if it was a gun. We're going to find out after he points whatever it is or pulls out whatever in his pocket. We don't wait. We don't have this type of timeline to wait afterwards, because hindsight 2020 is good for people in 6 feet deep. We don't wait for that. So if we take off a firearm, mind you, you're talking about a situation where he threw it to the side. This didn't happen here. He was disarmed. Somebody took this off this person.
That's what makes it a bad analogy.
Yes.
Hold on. They disarmed him as he was fighting law enforcement when they couldn't get a handle of his hands. He was fighting. He was actively engaging with law enforcement, not complying. This is a person who we took a gun from. So it's safe to assume if he's reaching in his pocket, he's not going to do this to play pity pat with anybody else and to pull out bubble gum. He's doing this, and we're going to make an assumption on a fair case saying that he's probably doing this with ill intent.
He's not reaching for a gun.
Hold on.
No, I'm going to respond to that. Nope, he spoke, so now it's our turn to speak. No,
how do you
that's
dude,
the problem.
I've been muted the whole time. Tom's been doing this.
Go smoke a cigarette. Go smoke a cigarette. He just went off on a go smoke a cigarette. He just went off on a whole dialogue tree.
Oh my God.
Wait. Hold on. Yeah. Like if Marte just went, so we want to let either Pisco or Irrelevant respond to Marte.
Yeah, they've been responding a lot.
So he's doubling, and he's been doubling down. Yeah, he's been doubling down.
Irrelevant's gotten muted just as much as you. I promise you. He's you and Irrelevant.
Listen, I'm losing my fucking mind. So listen, bro.
I was super patient with
no bad blood, Tom. I know. I'm losing my mind. Okay, I know it.
You have been muting
here's
me,
the
bro.
problem. Here's the problem.
Been engaging
so
with me.
He's doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on the idea that, again, if you at any point have a weapon on you, ever, no matter whether or not there was like brandishing or lethal intent at all, just if you have a gun on you and you reach for anything that could have a weapon in it, they're allowed to kill you.
Do you believe? Again, that's my hypothetical.
I'm not done. Hey, shut your ass up, boy. Okay, I'm not done. How is this not stomping on the Second Amendment? The fact that I have a gun. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Okay, that the fact that if I have a gun, that just merely the act of having it, even if I lose possession of it afterwards, that if I reach for anything in any way, shape, or form,
on your body,
then I'm allowed to be killed.
Okay,
Or he even referred to as a glove box. He even referred to a glove box. Any
you're reaching into your coat, even after you abandon the weapon. Yes,
Okay,
the
let
cop
Jake
has
respond.
every fucking right to say that there's a
manner. If you have a gun and it drops on the
Hold on.
Dude, you're not even engaging.
Can I respond to this, Tom?
Well, hold on. We're
14.
trying to let Jake respond real quick. Hold on. Let him respond.
Yeah, like I said before, what the reason why I asked that hypothetical, and Pisco goes on like, oh, this doesn't rate the thing with the Jacob Blake situation. I just brought up the Jacob Blake situation because it's been so long. I don't know the exact thing. I was assuming, and I'm thinking that's the case, that he brandished a weapon and then he went into his car. I could be wrong. That's not the case. The point that I was making is if it's the case that he abandoned a weapon, he had a weapon in his hand, abandons it, and then reaches into his coat, irrelevant, this fucking moron would say, oh, I'm going to fucking say that it might not be the case. That's not how law enforcement works. Pisco knows that. He 100% knows this situation. He brings up the Jacob Blake situation. I don't remember it exactly. I was just saying could be the case. I know I brought it up. I'm saying it could be the case. And I was misremembering. I don't know the case here. I have to look back on it. But my point was the hypothetical. You go on an entire fucking rant about it. It's not the point.
No, but I addressed the hypo, right?
Pisco, if you were an officer and somebody brandished a weapon, they abandoned it, and they reach into their coat, would you assume that they're reaching in for a weapon?
Yeah, so not necessarily. No, if they've, it depends on the nature of their abandonment, right? So
okay, the first time you would, right?
It depends on the nature. It depends on the nature. It depends on the nature of the abandonment. If they're voluntarily relinquishing a weapon, I would, and the weapon. So the example you provide, it's like Luke Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi. Remember when he goes to the
logic, bro.
Wait. I understand. I'm trying to explain myself. All right. Remember in Return of the Jedi when Luke says he throws his lightsaber across the. Okay, well, just he defeats Darth Vader.
Nerd.
And it doesn't. You don't have to be a nerd to watch those movies, bro. To watch
Star
Star Wars 6.
Just continue. Just continue.
So someone who voluntarily relinquishes their weapon after they've taken it out. Normal people will think, oh, he probably has less of a deadly intent because he's relinquished the thing that would provide that. Now, I'm not unreasonable. I don't say, therefore, you don't think you put your gun down, you don't do anything. Correct. I think it's totally fine to keep your gun out and irrelevant made for that. But the question is, after that occurs and they do a furtive movement or they go into their brief for who knows what reason, the escalation of force, is it enough yet to make that assumption? And on those facts alone, no. Now it's different if this person, for example, has already used their gun, or Jacob Blake has already tried to kill someone or use a weapon. Then it's different facts, right? If you sown someone who is already used their weapon, right? Use their weapon in a deadly way, then I'm gonna be like, yeah, reasonable. But here's the difference, right? No. Even if you disagree with us on that, even Jake, I'll just say this: you can disagree. If you disagree with Irrelevant and I on that, on the example that you provided, that's fine. Nothing to do with this case. Nothing to do with this case.
Yeah,
because this case doesn't involve.
Hold on, bro. Here's the thing. I'm just testing the claim that you guys were making, saying that because he brandished a weapon, whatever the case is, and he reached into his back, that could have been a weapon, which we were saying maybe not. We don't fucking know. This is why I fucking asked the hypothetical. This is how it relates to the case, bro.
Didn't brandish.
He didn't brandish a weapon.
Oh, bro, hold on. I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. The fact is, he had a weapon. Then he went out to get the weapon. I'm just saying from the cop's perspective.
No, he didn't.
Bro,
he didn't do that.
He did. We can have the still frame. Tomfoolery actually agrees with me on this case.
He had a phone in his hand.
He does. But hold on. This is why I asked you the scenario, because you guys were fucking claiming that because he brandished or because anybody brandishes a weapon, this was our claim, that if he reaches back to his back pocket, that he might have a weapon. Could be the case. We don't know.
Just to be
But
clear,
you're saying that that's not plausible.
Wait,
That's
just to be
what
clear,
your
do you
claim
know
is,
what the
right?
word brandish
Hold on, I'm
means?
asking- Yes, holding.
Can I address a claim
grabbing
you made before
weapon.
that's really fallacious? That
Hey,
doesn't
no,
make
no,
any
I'm
sense.
sorry.
God.
I'm sorry. He needs to respond to that.
No, hold on, Tom.
What
You
is, wait,
admitted-
no,
you
it
admitted
sounded
that-
like he did. We might be having
wait,
sounded like he's
hold on,
just
stop,
like
stop,
didn't
stop.
understand
Okay,
what
hold on,
right
stop.
brandishment.
Stop.
Oh my
Stop,
God,
stop,
dude.
stop.
Hold
Hold on,
No,
hold
I'm
on,
trying to
hold on.
ask him because it sounds like he
Hold
doesn't
on.
understand.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
running
hold on.
right now.
Hold on.
I'm trying to address you on a
Brandishing a
fallacious
weapon. Here.
Okay, hold
Okay,
on.
what is
So,
brandishing a weapon?
Hold on, irrelevant. Hold
Uh,
on. So Jake, are
oh
you
my
saying that
God.
he was attempting to brandish a weapon? Is that your claim? Not that he was brandishing one, but that he was attempting
maybe.
to
How?
brandish one?
Yes, because I'm
Okay,
mixing it up with
so-
my
so-
hypothetical.
Wait,
In the
wait a second,
hypothetical-
Just be clear.
That's so
Just be
fucked up
clear.
because-
Hold on.
God,
Wait,
bro.
hold on.
Can I
Hold on.
finish?
Hold on.
Just
Just be clear.
testing y'all's
I didn't
claim.
agree
I'm
that.
testing
I
y'all's
didn't
claim.
agree. Hold on. I didn't agree that like he was actually reaching for a gun. I agree that he reached to the back. It seems as though his hand
sure.
was under his butt, like towards his leg. Not.
No, you can't
so
make
it
that
didn't
claim,
seem like there was
Tom, no.
anything around.
He
what-
showed the
not
footage
even.
earlier.
Hold on.
No.
Pisco. Hold on. What? I can't make the claim that he touched his leg. What do you mean I can't make that claim? He did.
You can't
I did make that.
You can't make.
I played it on the
no.
fucking video.
Okay. Do you think that I meant you can't make the claim as in you're legally not allowed to make that claim, Tom?
He
Do you
didn't
think
say
that I was
legally,
saying
you
that-
stupid idiot.
I'm saying I
what did you
showed
think
the
I meant by
video.
that?
I'm saying I showed the video and I showed that he touched his leg. What do you mean I can't make that claim? He touched his leg in the fucking video.
He when you say he
Bro,
touched his leg,
stop
you mean
arguing
Pretti
Bro,
Pretti
let him
touched
have this
his leg.
conversation.
Pretti with the
Pretti
phone in
touched
his hand,
leg.
put his phone.
When did he show me when he quote touched his leg based on the video where you said, well, it blocks it so you can't see it. That's what I remember you saying. And then B, the fact
Yeah,
that
no,
you
I said
yourself
from the
said
others-
it happened after the first shot.
He showed it after it got
I
blocked,
didn't say
bro.
that he was grabbing a gun. That's what I'm trying to get to. You're jumping in saying
I'm
I
not.
can't
No,
make
no,
that
no,
claim.
no,
So,
sorry.
yeah, so hold,
I didn't
so
say.
hold
I
on.
didn't say grabbing for a gun. I said what you said. You said that he touched his leg. I'm asking, in virtue of what do we have a good basis to believe he touched his leg?
Yeah,
of what?
from the first angle that I showed. So I said that the second angle is blocked to where they were saying the second angle shows that he actually has his hand up towards his back. I said, no, the first angle shows he just touches his leg. They said, go to the second angle. So I went to the second angle and I said the second angle blocks it completely.
But it's besides the
So-
point.
Yeah, you don't pay attention.
Yeah, so the
obviously.
point, I
He's
just
not-
wanted to say
no,
that
no,
my
I wanna
position
be
was
clear. I
not that
disagree
he
with Tom.
actually went for
Tom,
the gun.
can you just
that
finish
he
your
was
question
actually
for
just
me,
touching.
please? 'Cause this
Yes.
fucking
So I
idiot
was just saying that
interrupted you.
I was just saying that I didn't agree with that. He was touching the back of his leg with the phone in his hand. It doesn't seem as though his hand ever went anywhere near the holster. So if you agree that like he didn't brandish the weapon and that you think that he was attempting to brandish the weapon, but there wasn't any evidence of a weapon there, what does it when
What does it
like
imply?
is in these other scenarios when we're talking about reaching inside of a glove box, we're talking about a scenario where you can't see where their hand is, or when they reach inside of their pocket, you can't see what's inside of their pocket, you can't see what's inside of the
Right.
glove box. In this scenario,
Mhm.
if he doesn't actually reach inside of anything to where you don't know what's inside of there, what is the possibility of there being something somewhere if he's not reaching into something that's not visible?
Yeah, as far as the possibility wise, again, we don't know exactly what's in his pants, etc. Right? We don't know that. What I am saying is though, the probability wise, this is why I asked the hypothetical, is that you can't 100% be sure of these things. Now, however, if you look back at the footage, it looks like the initial shot, the second shot, anyways, it looks like he didn't actually see that the gun in the holster was gone already.
How do you
right?
know that? Wait,
So,
how do you know that?
but-
You can't even
Well,
you can't
it
even
doesn't
tell me
look
that
like
he was
it,
trying
but
to
it
help.
could- it
You
could-
can't even tell
Bro,
me.
can I
You're like
finish?
you're like.
Pisco,
How do you know?
chill out,
that
bro.
he was
Stop
trying to
freaking
help?
out. Still, let me chill out, bro. I didn't make that claim.
You're like,
I didn't make that he was
how do
trying
you
to
know
claim-
that she's helping
No.
her across the street? You're like, I know he didn't see the gun. What the fuck? Like,
You want to go back to the
you're saying
fucking
that you
crossing
know,
the street shit,
you
bro?
know for certain.
No,
you know for certain that he's not helping
you
her
made the
across
claim
the
that he was
street.
helping across the street.
I
You
know
had
he
the
didn't
proof.
see.
What are you
I know
talking
he
about?
didn't see it. I
How
know
do
he
you
didn't
know that
fucking see it.
That was your claim, you fucking moron. What are you talking about?
And I was,
That was your
I
claim.
was
So-
totally
so
can I
vindicated.
finish? Can I
was
finish?
totally completely
bro?
vindicated.
Please go. Can you
Okay,
shut
so,
up and let
so
me
go
hold
finish?
for
on.
it.
So let
Yeah,
Jake
yeah,
finish, and
dude.
then we're gonna close out. So go ahead,
So
Jake.
let me finish. Let me finish really quick. So I'm just making, I'm just saying that the officers don't know, but however, the initial officer, I would say, didn't see the gun being pulled out, right? Originally.
How do you know?
Even if
how do you know,
bitch?
bitch?
Hey,
bitch.
bro, I'm basing it off of the footage. I'm basing it
How do you know?
Bro, look, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't in the. Listen, bro, I wasn't in the eyes of the individual. Just shut up.
Hold on, Jake.
Shut
my
up,
question was about like if there's a place that they're reaching into where they can't see the thing. You were saying there's a possibility that there would be another gun inside of his pants or something like that.
Or a knife, or any type of weapon.
Sure. If his hand went inside of his pants, that would make sense. But like, even you don't seem to be claiming that his hand ever went inside of his pants or in a place where they couldn't see it. So that's what I'm asking about, is if he's not reaching into something that they can't tell what's inside of there, why would there be a chance of a gun just like magically appearing?
Well, again, they don't know if there's another weapon or if there's a knife, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going back over here, you're attempting to get something out of your clothing, there could be a possibility that it could be a knife. Not only that, they were about 2 feet away from him. So brandishing a knife could be very deadly to ICE officers. Now, again, I am also making a claim that I believe that the first shot was probably accidental based off the video that I sent you, right? The first shot happens, he's getting up. The second shot is when he goes down. So there's a lot of miscommunication there. And I would agree that, under the circumstances of it being heated, could have been misconceptions, but however, we have to judge it off of the perspective of the officers. And I'm just saying, could be the perspective that, hey, they didn't know, they heard gun, and they usually rely on their own fellow officers, in order to perceive a threat.
Okay, so I gave you guys the last word on this, so I'm going to switch up the order of the closing statements. Marte, we're going to start with you, then we'll go to Pisco, then we'll go to Jake, then we'll go to Irrelevant, and we'll close it out that way. So this is a final statements, and also shout out your channels, let everybody know where they can find you. Marte, you got about 2 minutes. Go ahead.
So you can find me on my channel, EOTE on the Edge. You can also find me in other debates. I'm everywhere else, Mighty Marte. I'm an IFBB pro athlete trying to qualify for the Olympia this year, an active pro athlete, former law enforcement officer, active current debater. Many other things in my book. The female warrior fallacy will be released in 3 months from now. I'm still working on that. But anyways, here's the thing that I'd like to end on. I want to counter something that Irrelevant said earlier. He said, well, if it is the case that, law enforcement will, shoot anybody who has a secondary firearm or assume this, nobody would have 2A rights. Really fallacious argument on its face. We're talking about somebody who inserted himself into a hostile situation. This is very specific and case-by-case scenario. So let me address that real quick, because that was a dumbass claim also. Applauding my partner, Jake, who did really well in this debate. I don't think that Pisco was able to prove that he couldn't contradict himself, saying that, well, we do have evidence and we could demonstrate the lead up to this and build a case, but then all of a sudden rules for me and not for thee in this whole debate. That's literally what he did this whole time, is saying, well, okay, cool, we could build up a case, but you can't do that. But I really don't see anything on their end showing that this wasn't a justified shoot, because if we see the lead up to this, we see that he wasn't a peaceful protester kicking out taillights and all this. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. I really didn't hear a solid argument from their end, and I'll leave it to everybody else to decide where their hat lies.
All right, appreciate it, man, and good luck with the Olympic qualifiers. Pisco, tell everybody where they can find you, and you got about 2 minutes.
Pisco Liddy on YouTube and on Twitter. I'm going to start by quoting, okay? Quote, the guy never brandished the gun at all. He never showed the gun at all. He never removed the gun from the holster at all. Let's go through the facts. The facts are that this was ICE escalating, CBP. Your job in crowd control is to de-escalate. The ICE officer chases a woman across the street, pepper sprays her, and then apparently isn't satisfied with that. So he shoves her down. At the point of shoving her down is when this guy who was just filming, just sitting there filming, walks in and tries to stop that. So what does he do? He pepper sprays him, but not happy with pepper spraying. This is the ultimate victim. He grabs his arm down so he can pepper spray him some more. And then, so they're both pepper sprayed. So you're creating a disastrous situation to begin with. There's no competent cop who is going to come in to say that this is how you handle an escalation situation. They take him down, they push him to the ground. He never hits any officer ever. He never initiates anything with any officer ever. All he did was try to help this woman off the street and get up off the ground and see him right there. He puts his hands up. He grabs his arm that is referring to the cop. Yeah, a lot of people are going to say, this is someone else. What the hell do you think he's doing? And this person responds, picking up a woman's being shoved down by an ICE officer who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. How about that? And this person continues to say this is obviously unjustified. The person I'm talking about right now is Robert Barnes. He is one of the biggest MAGA dick sucks in the entire universe. He is a legal analyst, and even he recognizes what we saw here. There are no furtive gestures to suggest he's reaching for a gun. He was disarmed at the time of the shooting. Even if it was the case that he was committing obstruction, which they totally failed to understand or to elaborate, doesn't justify the shooting. Even if they were able to show what they want to show about these given hypotheticals, those facts aren't applicable here. And what we saw tonight, in addition to all of this equivocal language, he could have, I mean, just count in Jake's last statement the amount of coulds that were there. It's absolutely insane. Irrelevant's totally right about the implications of their theory being disastrous for rights and disastrous for the Second Amendment. But this is a perfect example of why we need to defund ICE, because this is the caliber of degenerate that they hire, that they think that they're allowed to shoot you, a free American, just on mere potentiality that you could be a threat. That even in a situation in which you're surrounded by 7 officers, Alex Pretti was, in which every application of force in that context is unjustified, they will go to the grave defending your murder. A disgusting showing by these 2 government bootlicking shills. And this is exactly the problem with ICE and DHS and why we need to fire all of these bozos.
All right. Thank you, Pisco. And then Jake, let everybody know where they can find you and give us your closing statements. You got 2 minutes.
Yeah, real quick. You could. I'm Jake Var. You can find me at Project VOPod on YouTube and Rumble, as well as Jake Var on X and Instagram. I would like to thank Tomfoolery. Actually, you did an amazing job moderating this chaos that we happened to have earlier today. Much better than Wick. I'm going to give you credit on that. Much better of a moderator than Wick. Very engaging with the questions. Now let me go to what took place here in this chaos. Here is that these stupid fucks here made the claim that this fucking this Alex Pretti, right, was walking a woman across the fucking street. That's already fucking retarded in itself. Then they also claim that he was trying to help up the other woman, that he was just trying to help her up. He got fucking pepper sprayed, moves towards the woman, and somehow he was trying to help her up when obviously he's blind and he's just panicking. That's really what the case was. Also a fucking stupid claim. I also made the claim about fucking how the first shot was, of course, if you look at the footage, the first shot wasn't directed at Pretti, especially if they're 2 feet away, etc. of the original shot. More than likely, you're not going to miss that. So he was getting up, and then the second shot, of course, gun. Most fucking law enforcement go by their constituents on what the situation is at the time. So in this case, you have to look at what these officers were thinking at the time of when the trigger was pulled. That's the case there. Then they also strawman us about the situation that the question that you brought up about the Trump administration and their claims about Petty having a gun in his hand. Did not happen. Totally agree with that. I actually granted them that, but then they made an entire argument about how that wasn't the case. I never made the claim, neither did Martel make the claim that was the case, right? But then they go in a whole big spurg about how that's what we claim. Not the case at all. That was a big straw man as well. Yeah, these guys fucking totally got pwned tonight. They got pwned. It's not even fucking funny. Most of these fucks weren't even engaging with my hypotheticals at points. They weren't even fucking engaging with me, bro. And Pisco, you're a big fucking, you're a big individual. I've seen you on Tim Pool, etc. You're not even really engaging with my engagement here. So I'd love to have a one-on-one with you one of these days. Just FYI, if you're down to have that, we can do that. We'll set it up, man. With that being said, Tom, thank you so much for being a pretty good moderator, bro. Very, very much so from the left wing's point of view.
Be happy to set that up for you guys as well. I would be happy to set that up, but also I do not stand by the Wick claims. Okay, Wick is good enough moderator. He's
Wick's horrible.
He's and then irrelevant. Let everybody know where they can find you and give your closing statements. You got 2 minutes, sir.
TikTok, Instagram, Kick, YouTube, Twitch, irrelevant as seen here, relevant. So what I want to say is I want to go through the total abandonment of all of their positions that they went through. So let's begin just at starters. Pisco came in here to be able to have a conversation about the actual history and the actual merits of the charge of like resisting arrest and stuff like this. They immediately abandoned it. They went from, oh, he shoved the ICE agent to he lightly pushed to he was obstructing. They constantly dial back on this. They went from, oh, he was obstructing to, oh, he was standing in between them, obstructing in the same way a tree falls in between two individuals. I also want to bring up that the analogy that he keeps thinking for some reason fit, he referred to brandishing a weapon. And I still to this moment do not know if he actually knows what the word brandishing means. I'm actually very confident he doesn't. And yes, in the video, he grabs the woman. He doesn't just move towards her. He grabs the woman after getting pepper sprayed. And yes, to the walking across the street, there's a video that I linked to Tom. He hadn't played it, which to his credit, that's fine. But that shows she was pushed and then he grabbed her and then ushered her to the edge of the street that we saw at the end there. The video that we watched had the camera go down, but it's clearly visible in the other angle. So yeah, Pisco was right on that another time. And there is no human being, I don't even know why you guys would try this, who would ever think that me and Pisco were not engaging in hypotheticals compared to you two. It was like bashing my brain into the fucking wall. I had to beg Tom to ask questions on my behalf so that way you guys would answer them, okay? So this idea that we weren't answering questions, that's absolutely fucking insane. Okay, so yeah, good luck with all that. And thank you, Tom, for putting up with me because I was losing my goddamn mind, okay? This was degeneracy.
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys coming. If you'll give me just a minute. As I said before,
oh, by the way, pwned.
Okay. I do want to reiterate. I said this earlier at the beginning of the panel, and that my asking questions is again not my positions. I see a lot of people pushing this. I am again just a regular Democrat, regular liberal. Not that I do try to steelman the other side as a moderator to try to make sure that their questions are being answered, or the things that even audience members would want to hear are getting answered, and somebody is rebutting those things at some point. So whether it's regardless of who I asked or what I was asking from a left or a right person, doesn't necessarily necessitate my positions. You can come to my channel and see what my positions are if you're wondering about those. Oh, and then last thing, I'm sorry guys, we didn't get to your questions or super chats, so I want to read those real quick. $20 from Aaron M Sound. He said, since when are we as citizens not supposed to defend against militant armed combatants using unreasonable force and assaulting people, as well as violating protocol, civil rights, and use of force laws? They are ignoring that like it doesn't exist. Thank you, Aaron, for the $20 tip. Appreciate it, homie. $5 from the Trib. Jake's point is that when Alex gets shot, he reacts to the shot like most would and reaches for the pain, but then gets shot more than because lack of training, or I get shot more than that because of lack of training, I think is what he meant to say. Another one, $5 from the Trib. He said, was Alex under arrest? If under arrest, was he resisting arrest? If resisting, was it because he was beaten in the head or because he's afraid of handcuffs? Leutnant, I think is the name, $5 super chat, appreciate it. He said, Jake, what page is Andrew Wilson's book is sparking up a cigarette when you run out of smart things to say? And then Leutnant also said attempted brandishing, ha ha ha. Okay, I appreciate you guys' super chats, thank you so much. And I am raising money right now to move. I am moving countries, not running from Trump, but I am moving to another country. Just got yeah. I
Yo, shut the fuck up, bro.
Where are you moving?
To another country? New Zealand. Going to New Zealand.
Oh shit! Wait, because of Mantis?
Crazy, bro. All right.
Congrats. My life is not difficult enough.
You're running away from Trump,
dealing with crazy people.
I'm gonna make that claim now.
Yes, my life is not difficult enough dealing with screaming banshees and crazy people right now. I need more of that in my life, and so I'm going to be around mantas 24/7 now. So
Right
that's,
on.
Nice.
Congrats,
Just to be clear,
Congrats.
Jake, I absolutely will take you up on that. And Tom is fair in all things, but thank you guys for the show.
For sure.
Appreciate
Hey,
it, guys.
Pisco, by the way, I followed you on X a while back ago, but I'll send you a message. Maybe we can like connect.
Yeah,
and
DM
stuff
me. I'll
like
follow
that.
you
Like,
back. I'll follow you
or
back.
try to like have a conversation because we are
a future debate as well too. So
Yeah, 100%. Just DM me. I love you guys very much.
Yeah.
All right, later, guys.
You,
Have a good one.
you have a good one. Bye bye.